Live.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another stream with Key of Threes KOT. I'm with my boy over here, Garrett, Super Mario Hoops. How you doing, bro?
Doing good. It's always a good day with Keyholder J. You know what I'm saying? So,
Hey,
should be a good one. I'm looking forward to the stream that you got planned out for us today.
hey, you know the vibes, yo. How you doing, Gabe? GabeSlidIn. How you doing, brother?
Listen, the franchise player is here, baby. I missed Saturday, but I'm back. I'm ready to give y'all some content, bro. Stop playing with me.
Yes, sir. And I'm here with my boy JELSON. How you doing, Joe?
Hey, I'm doing good. Gabe, the only franchise player here is not Joe Burrow.
Crazy straight. But the first topic we're going to bring up tonight is Kelly Oubre. Kelly Oubre signed a 1-year deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. Will this change James Harden's mind on whether he wants to stay or not? Yo, what
Yes.
you
Absolutely
think, Garrett?
not.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, let me stop. But I do like the addition. It's a sneaky, nice little addition, late off-season addition. I like Kelly Oubre as a player as long as he's playing the Timberwolves because he averages, like, I swear to God, 75 against the Timberwolves. But Kelly Oubre has always been that sneaky good scorer kind of off the bench, and we hear his name a lot. The value on him is not 100% out there. I don't even know how much I value him as a player, but he played well last season, and I think for the 76ers, if they need a bucket, he'll give it to them.
For sure. What about you, Gabe?
Bro, I don't know why it took him so long to get a contract. I know it might not have been the most efficient. I know he's not like the perfect NBA player. But at the end of the day, bro, if you're averaging 20 points in the NBA, you're a quality player. Let's not get that twisted.
Malik
So the fact that
Beasley.
it took this long,
Stop.
and Malik Beasley is a quality player.
Don't give Malik
He's a
Beasley
quality-
a stray, bro.
He's a
Just because he
quality
played for your
player
Wolves.
too. Even if he's not a perfect player, he's still a quality player. And Kelly Oubre is that same way. He can be a quality depth piece on like any team if put in the right situation. I'm not going to expect him to go out there and be efficient when he's playing on the Hornets, who essentially were not working with much last season. I mean, they were literally got the second overall pick for a reason. So the fact that he was able to have any production in general, I'm like, why does he not have a contract? Like, he's not going to come in and be the franchise player and take them from a team who struggled to get over the hump. He's not going to be the guy that takes them to the championship. But is he good? Yeah, he's good.
Yo.
And
Yo, Mr.
Yo,
81.
I don't get why it took so long. But as far as his impact on the Sixers, bro, I do not care. You want to know why I don't care? You want to know why I don't care? Because listen, here's the thing with the 76ers this year. James Harden's either leaving and you're not going to get something as good back, or James Harden is staying and he's either not going to play, or if he does play, he's not going to be 100%. And by that, I don't mean health-wise, even if that were to occur. I mean 100% in effort. And you know what that means? It's Joel Embiid with even less help. And you know what that means? That means more wear and tear on Joel Embiid. And do you know what that means? That means when Joel Embiid gets to the playoffs, he's going to be banged up. And that means he's not going to be 100%. And you know what happens then? Embiid's not giving you enough to get over the hump. And even if he is, the help that he has, and whether that's Tobias Harris, whether that's Tyrese Maxey, whether that's whoever, is not beating the Celtics. It's not beating the Bucks. It's probably not beating Miami. And if they get better, I'm not sure if it's beating the Cavs. So at the end of the day, they can sign whoever they want. But until they figure out this James Harden thing and find a way to get better and put a more quality cast to actually get out of the second round around Joel Embiid, which I'm not sure is even possible, they're not going any further than they've been the past couple years.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting signing, mainly because one, I mean, as you guys kind of both said, it's like we don't know why he was unsigned for so long. You know, yeah, he averaged 20 points a game on mediocre efficiency, but it's like at the end of the day, he's still putting up 20 points a game, and he's been a consistently important player for years on a variety of teams, whether it was Phoenix, you know, that team that the year they went 8-0 in the bubble, or Charlotte the other year when they went 43 and 39 or something like that. So I like the signing, especially because, like, I mean, I think now we're so past what the Sixers didn't do this offseason, like, because of the Harden stuff, but it's like they let Jalen McDaniels go for like nothing. You know what I mean? So it's like he's going to be essentially what we're looking at is probably the 6-man, probably the small forward off the bench. And that's something they really haven't had too much of the last couple of years. They haven't really had a guy that can like go get buckets off the bench. But all I think though is that the Jewel and Joel, that's going to be a fun tandem to watch, man. So I don't know. That's just my, I guess, 2 cents. But I feel like Kelly Oubre, no matter what team got him, he was going to at least give them some sort of edge. I think he has like, even if he's not the most consistent defender, he has defensive potential and can be versatile on that end depending on the situation. And as a 3-point shooter, I mean, he's had his ups, he's had his downs, but I mean, it's not like he's a guy that you're just going to like dare to shoot unless you're playing with maybe like 3 other elite shot creators or something like that, which he never really has. Even he's played with 1, he's played with 2, but never like 3, I would say. So, yeah.
No, for sure. When it comes to Kelly Oubre, I pretty much understand why it took so long for him to be signed. I mean, he averaged 20 points per game on about 17 shots. That's nasty efficiency. I don't want that type of play on my team. But when it comes to the Philadelphia 76ers, adding some more firepower off your bench, that's definitely going to help when the offense does become stagnant. But I just want to give a report out that Ramona Shelburne said there are 2 options that James Harden will take heading into training camp, because media days in about 2 weeks. So training camp follows not too much after that. She said that James Harden is either not going to report whatsoever, or he's going to come into camp in the best shape of his life. We've heard this for a while, best shape of his life, and his goal is to reestablish his value in the league. So next summer he can, I guess, get the contract that he's been looking for. But I guess that's all we got to say for the 76ers, unless anybody wants to add anything else.
Hey,
Yeah.
best shape in his life.
Believe it, bro. Believe it when I see it.
Bro,
Believe
best shape of his life? Does that mean 100 pounds extra with a fat suit on? Like, is that what we're talking about?
Listen, when it comes to like, I can honestly understand the argument between like when it comes to reestablishing his position. Because when I made my top 10 point guards list, I don't even think I had him on there. And it's like, this is James Harden. This is a guy who was an MVP just 5 years ago and was still like a superstar level player, best shooting guard in the league as recently as like 2020, 2021. So from that perspective, like, yeah, he has some reestablishing to do because he's going to want some max type money. And I don't know what team is going to give him like a 4 or 5 year max at this rate.
No, yeah, for sure.
Long Tigers.
Definitely Saudi Arabia definitely willing to throw a bag at him. But
Yo,
on to our next topic. The NBA has introduced a on the wake up, Jay. Yeah, I took a nap. I didn't make sure I was on top of the stream, bro.
That was the Guangdong Tigers.
Make sure you're on time for the stream. It's 9:18.
Hey, just in case I overslept, bro. But the NBA did introduce a new rule in order to maximize.
I'm sorry, Jay. I'm just.
Let me make sure my
Guangdong Tigers calling.
Now we go.
I'm sorry. That was just too funny.
We good? We good?
No. There's a reason this is live, bro.
The timing of everything was just perfect there.
All right, so the NBA has just introduced their new rule, the PPP, the Player Protection Policy. This rule is in order to, when I'm reading down the list, it's really so the players show up on nationally televised games. Like you would think it's to protect the fans, the consumers that's coming to these games, night in night out, but really the NBA is negotiating their new TV contract, and when negotiating, they want the people that are buying the contract to show that their star players actually show up on these networks. So what this rule would do is teams can get fined over $1 million for each instance of them breaking this rule. And it's so you cannot sit 2 star players in a game at the same time, right? And a star player defined by the NBA is someone that was an all-star or made an all-NBA team in the last 3 seasons. The NBA did say that they will have some allowances for cases like this. The NBA pre-approved designated back-to-back allowances for players who are 35 years old on opening night and have career workloads of about 35,000 regular season minutes or 1,000 regular season or playoff games combined, right? And star players that will fall under that exemption would be guys like Chris Paul, Mike Conley, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, DeMar DeRozan, and James Harden, right? And any league approved back-to-back restriction will not apply to in any national televised game. So, like I said again, even if you do get an exemption for being able to sit out back-to-backs or two stars in the same game, it will not by any means be a national televised TV game, because they are looking for that bag from these TV companies. But what three teams do you guys, is my question, do you guys think will be most affected by this new rule?
Hold on, wait. Before you guys go, did you say LeBron and Curry are like they're an exception to the?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That go ahead. You guys can go first. I'll
I
go
mean,
after.
it kind of makes sense for like LeBron's game, bro. If you're like a 40-year-old man and you've been playing for that long, there's gonna be more wear and tear. Your body's more likely to break down, and so having like an affordance like
It's
that,
just
where
like
it's
picking
like,
and choosing it though. That's the thing, you know.
Well, it's
I didn't
35
see
and
the
up.
choosing.
You got
It-
to be
it's for
35
age.
and up.
It's 35 and up, and they have to play 34,000 regular season.
Oh, I didn't hear it was an age thing. I just heard like
Yeah.
LeBron, Steph, and then like I heard a bunch of like other guys that I didn't think were that old.
No, 35 or 34,000 minutes in 1,000 playoff games.
Yeah.
Those are the ones. So like once you like put that much mileage in the league, they're like, okay, we get it. But it's not like it's like most of those guys should theoretically be past their prime. Now, like, I mean, it's gonna sound funny coming from me, but the stuff that Steph Curry is doing right now is like still damn near prime level. But
Yeah.
like even as good as like LeBron is, or like DeRozan still is, or Kevin Durant still is, I think we can argue they're not in their exact prime. So it makes sense. Like players that are actively in their prime and sitting out games are the ones who are supposed to be most targeted by this, and they are going to be most targeted by this. And when it comes to those players, the Clippers are done, buddy.
The
The
Flippers.
Clippers are cooked. The Clippers
I
been
think
real
it's gonna help
fun.
them.
You think it's going to help them? Do you think that
Yeah.
you think it's going to help them because it's going to force them to play? Do you think we're actually going to see Kawhi and Paul George suit up this season?
I do, because bro, it's got to happen once. It's got to happen once, bro. And like the last couple years, bro, the first year in LA when they were both there, I mean, Kawhi played a decent amount of games. The second year, I mean, Paul George playing a decent amount of games. So it's like they've had times like that, but like the last 2 years in particular, they've both gotten really unlucky. You know what I mean? And this past year, like I guess you could say like, oh well, they both played a decent amount of games, but how many did they really play together? You know what I mean? So it's like I think
I
you're
think it was
gonna
like
see
32.
yeah, like that. That's not. I don't think that's going to cut it personally. I mean, if you're not even playing half the games together with your two main stars, because they did that the first year, and then of course the midseason hiatus happened with the season suspension. So I think it's going to force them to play. We already heard like what Ty Lue said, and he's like, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw what Jerry West like straight up said to Paul George. He's like, it's crazy how guys like you and Kawhi just can't play enough games and stuff like that. Like he said that straight to his face on his podcast or whatever, or in an interview or whatever it was. So I think those people, it's definitely going to help. But yeah, I don't know. And then your question with the teams, Jay, like what was that question again?
What teams do you think is going to be most affected? What three teams?
Oh yeah. So I mean, I think it will affect the Clippers, but I think it'll be for good because I think that they're going to make their stars play more. They're not going to play like 82 games, but they're going to play more than they had the last couple of years and get more consistent runs. I think it should have an interesting effect on the Lakers because so that exception, like it's just 35 or up, right? So it's not including Anthony Davis.
No, not Anthony Davis.
So yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how that works because, I mean, I think he's only played like 65 games like twice or something like that. And granted, Kawhi hasn't had that many seasons of doing so either, but it's like he's also at least had times where he's carried it through in a postseason run as well. You know what I mean? So I'm interested to see how it affects them. And then a third team, I mean, I don't have it off the top of my head. I'll have to think about it. I don't know if you guys have any other teams you're thinking of.
I think
mean,
the Suns might struggle with it a bit because of Kevin Durant
Yeah.
and Bradley Beal. Like I don't think that's a problem with Devin Booker at all. But the other two guys, I guess if Kevin Durant like doesn't count as the same, like if he's like an exception, I mean that's one thing. But especially for Bradley Beal, like having that third guy in is pretty important. Especially because they're not very deep. Like I think it's a pretty big deal for them.
You know, I think with this new rule, though, it's going to make the acquisition of Bradley Beal that much more important, though. Like, because the exclusion of Kevin Durant, and now that Bradley Beal has to play, you know that you're at least, hopefully, if there's no injuries, you know you're at least getting a fair share of Bradley Beal in the court this season. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say I think another team it could honestly affect, because I know you said Mike Conley's an exception, but I feel like it might affect your Timberwolves, Jelson. Because like think about it, it's like if Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert are three people that qualify under this like resting policy with the Stars, so it's like it's going to have an effect on them where it's like, because you guys saw last year where it's like Cat played like the first like 3-4 weeks or something, got hurt, came back later, and it's like Gobert missed time at the end because of like the whole Kyle Anderson thing, but like they didn't really get to mesh well at all like most of last year, and I think you could probably agree with that, Jelson. So like
yeah,
I feel like it might honestly force them to like have more instances like that. Now obviously Cat's case was an injury, like an actual injury, but I feel like it's going to be like more like there's going to be like more padded down. It's not like last year's like the only year that Cat has missed like a decent amount of games either. Like he's had other years like that. I don't think it would affect Anthony Edwards at all, but like Rudy Gobert, he's had years like that too. I think the first year Donovan Mitchell was there, he missed a load of games as well.
I mean, I think the Timberwolves are in a pretty decent situation because none of their guys are known for like resting games just to rest games, like a Kawhi Leonard or a Paul George or a LeBron or KD or some of these guys. Because Anthony Edwards is young, we all know this, that as you get older, you typically want to rest more games. And he said that he wants to play every single game possible. Karl Anthony Towns is also the same type of guy that will want to play every single game that he's available to play. So whenever he's out, it's injury issues. The player that I'm concerned about to a degree is Rudy Gobert because of the fact that he is older at this point, and I don't know if Rudy Gobert is going to want to sit out a specific amount of games. And if that is the case, then it may force Rudy Gobert to be in a situation that he's uncomfortable with. But at the same time, I don't think Rudy Gobert's ever been that type of guy to be like, I don't want to play because I need my rest. You know what I mean?
What about the Sixers too?
I think a lot of those, like the Sixers are a case, and I want to bring this point up because it reminds me of another team as well. I feel like a lot of the players we immediately think of regarding this rule that were like, oh, they're not immediate exceptions, are going to get one of those like a team can seek approval based on a player's unusual or like injury history. Players like Embiid and that will go in with the Sixers, but the team that I really think that affects the most is probably New Orleans, because I've been saying pretty consistently when it comes to New Orleans at this point, I've seen that they can win enough games to at least make the postseason, no matter who's in the game or not. But they need to find a way to get their two guys in the game in April, in May. They need to be playing at that point. But to this point, especially with Zion, he just ends up getting that season-ending injury before they can get that far. And so I think that when you think of like this, oh, you can't like rest players, originally it would hurt them because they do need to load manage him heavily if he wants to have a chance of playing postseason basketball in his entire career.
Well, you know, also is like,
but I think we'll get that.
We're not gonna get any more of the Zion doesn't feel like Zion, so Zion's not gonna play, because that's not acceptable anymore under these rules. And I don't think that, and I think the league is gonna look more into that and realize that he's not actually injured, he just doesn't feel like playing. And then there's gonna be a lot more looking into injuries, really figuring out if these players are actually injured, less of that, mild calf strain, and that's what sidelines him for one game, or as Jimmy Butler is known as, general soreness, because he just sits out games, which I think that he could be affected.
Another good one. So like, I didn't think about that. Go ahead.
But I don't know. Gabe, I like how you brought up. I don't know what players are going to get these like exemptions and what the league is going to consider a valid exemption. And what I believe is that these big, huge name players are going to not get this exemption quite as much on nationally televised games. But the mid-tier stars probably will get the exemptions more often because they're not as important to the markets. They're not as important to nationally televised games. So they don't really care quite as much about those guys, but they also want to make sure that their players as a whole are healthy.
I think that's a good bring up that you said with Jimmy Butler, because I mean, obviously, even with the new CBA, it's like the resting policy is to work in effect where it's like hopefully everyone can qualify for like awards at the end of the year and stuff like that. And like at least for Jimmy Butler, like he hasn't played more than 65 games since his last year in Chicago.
Ooh.
You know? So like but nobody really ever talks about that. You know what I mean? And I've seen a few people try and compare it where it's like, well, we hold Kawhi to this light and we hold KD to this light where it's like they miss these games, but we never talk about it with Jimmy Butler in the regular season with that. And so I think that the Heat are going to be another team like that. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like the Pelicans is another good one though. Like you said, Gabe, I think it's mostly just about Zion. But I mean, like remember what CJ said too. Like at the end of the season, he's like, we're not going to do anything unless our guys are out there. And I feel like that's really similar to like what I was talking about with Jerry West and Paul George. And like when they were talking, and it's like, and even like what Ty Lue said on whoever's podcast, I don't know if it was the Gilbert Arenas podcast or he was on someone's
all the smoke.
Yeah. But anyways, like I feel like these are the teams. It's like their stars are going to have to play more. I guess Zion's a weird case because like he just signed a new contract not too long ago, so it's like he could just say, "Oh, I'm injured" or something like that, or like I need surgery if there is a case where it comes about. But like at least for like the Clippers, like Kawhi and Paul George, it's like they're getting older. Their contracts are nearing like the time of expiration or like time for renewal. So it's like they kind of can't afford to have a situation like that. If they get a serious injury again, I mean, I'm never gonna expect someone's gonna get injured. But like, there has to be a time eventually where it's like it just doesn't happen like that, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I'm surprised nobody brought up the Lakers. You guys don't think the Lakers are going to be
the Bulls? I don't know.
Do they rest a lot, Garrett?
I mean, not really. Like honestly, like DeRozan. So what I will say at the beginning of last year is like LaVine was supposed to be ready, and he missed like the first week of the season, and then he came back after that or whatever. I think I went to his like first game last season when they played the Cavs, but like I think I don't know what it was. He was like kind of just managing an injury still. But DeRozan's one of the more durable players on that team. Now, if he means like some of the other guys, but even then, I really still don't know because Nikola Vucevic, like I don't know how many games he ended up playing, but I know there was one point in the season where like he was one of 12 players that had not missed a game. So and that was like, I think in the last like 3 weeks or so of the season. So I don't know about the Bulls unless you're talking about maybe like the Lonzo Ball situation and it's like he's cleared to come back or something like that. But yeah, I don't know.
That'd be a good one because I think that would be one of those exemption things from the league if Lonzo comes back and he needs the time because like everybody knows the extent of his injury and stuff like that. And like DeMar is exempt from this rule anyway, so it doesn't even really affect DeMar. And I don't know. I don't feel like Zach LaVine rests like ever.
It also applies to stars. We don't have any stars. So.
Right. So
hey, they said DeRozan qualified. DeRozan was an exception though. So even if DeRozan was like,
I mean, LaVine technically qualifies by the thing too, and technically I think Vucevic does as well because he made it in 2021, right? So he would qualify. So, but come on, bro, we're just not in that place.
Bro, y'all are trying to win games. I don't think the Bulls have a leash to have their players rest anyway. So
we don't.
Yeah. No, but like I was saying, I'm surprised you guys didn't bring up the Lakers in games that LeBron is exempt for and he can rest. You guys think Anthony Davis and the rest of that Lakers squad they can carry the Lakers to? I mean, they're pretty much contenders. They got championship hopes. Y'all think they can hold it down while LeBron rests?
No.
Absolutely.
Well, I did mention
they did it last year.
No.
That's exactly what they did last year. They made the big run and became that good of a team to get
No.
themselves back into the playoffs when LeBron was missing time. They played better without LeBron, and in the playoff run last year
If
too,
this
they
team
played better
wants to
without
be
LeBron.
a championship winning team, they need LeBron to play enough games to build the chemistry. And I think that's just how it is. And
the chemistry's better. They were already together.
there are new additions to this team and important new additions at that. And I think that if LeBron is not playing enough games, albeit they may make a playoff run, they may make the playoffs. We need LeBron playing enough games to build the chemistry and to get everybody on the same page for you to be a championship contending team. And that's just how it is.
You don't think 50's enough?
I think the one thing with last year is that like the timing was kind of everything because you brought that team together. If you think about it, you know, like LeBron was, I think he played maybe one game. I don't even know if he played a game with the new additions. I think he played maybe one with the new additions. Then he was out for a while. So it's not like there was really even time to gel with a lot of those new trade deadline acquisitions. Whereas I think in this case, it's like if he's going through training camp and going through the season, and then there's patches where it's like, oh, LeBron misses a week. Then he comes back, LeBron misses 3 weeks. Then he comes back, LeBron misses 2 weeks. I feel like that's a little bit harder. You know what I mean? Like then if they just straight up started out like that, because there's a reason why, like when LeBron did come back, those last couple games, it's like they still played good, but it's like they didn't play quite as good as when he was actually out in that like month or so. You know what I mean? So it's like that's kind of like what they were accustomed to. And even integrating, no matter if it's LeBron or no matter if it was like the other way around, LeBron was there and integrating AD, things are going to be different and people are going to play a different way. So, but I do think like, you know, that's why I did bring up AD a little bit just because like I'm not saying like I feel like he probably will as well. The same thing like what I said with the Clippers, like he's probably going to be more cautious and it's going to lead him to play at least like 65 games. It's going to lead him to not rest on those situations. I think honestly last year for most of the year he really was not like doing that much. I think there might have been like one game that I can recall where it's like he was kind of like resting it, you know what I mean? Like it felt like or something like that. But other than that, like I don't think he really was. It was just a lot of injuries. So I feel like this year, like just like what I said about the Clippers, what I said about like Zion and stuff like that, like he's going to be more cautious and wary about trying to play enough games that it's like he qualifies for the big awards and that not just that, but it's like his team can actually be in contention area. You know what I mean?
And I also wanted to add that with the whole LeBron chemistry thing, if we think about it, they made all these new additions. LeBron comes back for the playoffs, and they're obviously expecting him to be a big addition, obviously because it's LeBron. But with all these new additions and his age as a contribution to it, it was probably the first time in my lifetime in LeBron's probably career where I watched him and it looked like he was uncomfortable on the basketball court. Like you could tell that he was not playing LeBron basketball and he was not efficient.
Gabe said it best on that short that went kind of crazy. Like sometimes I feel like they made the conference finals in spite of LeBron.
That's what I'm saying. Like when you're like, oh, if LeBron's not in these games, can AD and the rest of the Lakers take them far? Like, yeah, because I watched a team who played great ball together and had a lot of great things going for them, has added more depth over this offseason to even supplement LeBron missing games. And when LeBron played in the playoffs, like they may be going on this great run, and then LeBron pulls up for a heat check from 35 feet and he misses all of them. Like it literally just killed the flow of the offense. We're not going to sit here and act like he's a great defender in the year of our Lord 2023 going into 2024. Like he was not playing well, and that's not to say like he's still like a top 10 player to me in the league, but I watched this team be good without him in the lineup.
No, yeah, and I completely agree. I just think it's one of those things where I know this team without LeBron can at least go somewhere. And even if I personally believe that playoff run wasn't that difficult for them because the teams they faced weren't that difficult, but I think that as a team, they could be solid and make a playoff run. I don't think without LeBron, they're a championship team, and that's the biggest problem.
Just to add to both of you guys' points again, because I do agree on both sides, kind of. It's just like I'm just interested to see like how it'll work out when it's like, you know, the team is starting out with LeBron, you know, through training camp and then the start of the year, and then he misses time. You know what I mean? And it's going to be the same thing with AD, but it's like because most of the time that they were missing games early on in the year, stuff like that, like they still weren't really playing that great, no matter like who was out there on the floor. And it's like they still had some guys like Reeves and stuff like that then, and Schroeder. But like I'm just interested like to see how that plays out. Because it felt like there was like a month or month and a half stretch where it's like no huge piece was integrated into the lineup and no huge piece was dropped from the lineup. And then of course, like when LeBron came back, that things kind of changed. And I'm saying this too, like even if LeBron was there and if AD was not there and then AD came back in like mid-March or whatever, the same thing probably would have happened and maybe they would have went on that big run with LeBron and like those guys. But that's kind of like my thought process is like bringing any big piece in like that. It's like going to change stuff up.
No, for sure, for sure. One thing I do want to add is that I think this rule may take Anthony Davis's game to another level. I'm someone that believes that Anthony Davis has been the best defender in basketball for the last few years, and it is literally a crime that he doesn't have a DPOY, even though there's fraud in Minnesota. I ain't gonna say no more. I ain't gonna say no more on that.
Hold on. There's a reason he doesn't have a DPOY. It's because he hasn't been the best defender in the league any of those years. But what I will argue is that he's been the most consistent defender. And he's been consistently great as a defender. And that's no slight to him. And that's why he doesn't have a defensive player of the year, in my opinion.
I think it's just games
one.
I'm gonna keep it a buck. It's just because of games played.
Well,
I think he definitely had I think he's had DPOY caliber seasons for sure. And probably could have beat those other guys out if he wasn't missing so many games.
Speaking of
I see what Jay's saying. I don't think it's a crime, but
Mr. 81 thinks that the Bucks will be affected by the rule as well.
I think only Chris Middleton, to be honest.
We also got the sixth man in the chat.
Giannis, I felt like Giannis had a lot of games.
What did you say, JELSON?
Giannis is coming for MVP, bro. Giannis is coming for MVP.
Oh, we got Hunter in the chat too. Because of injuries. I think it's with AD. Is it we were talking about as well, but yeah, I think maybe it's AD or LeBron, but the point is like, yeah, they both have their injury concerns. I think that's the biggest thing, and hopefully it all ties back to this CBA thing. Hopefully, like we can see players play. You know what I mean? Like, bro, the golden age. Like when I started watching the NBA, like the first season I remember watching was like 07, 08, and I think like 2010, 2011. That's when I knew all the players. Bro, you had people playing every single game. Guys like Monte Ellis and Steven Jackson playing 80 games a year. Gerald Wallace getting 40 minutes a game, bro. That's not going to happen, the 40 minutes part. But, like, if we can get people, like, maybe playing at least, like, 70 games in a season or more, I'm down with that, man.
Facts, bro. Hey, they getting paid $40 million a year these days. These players think they're too good to play every game, man. It's sad to see.
But he's about to be 60, bro.
Yep, and it's going to keep getting higher. But with that being said, guys, we're going to move on to our next topic, and that will be our top 10 shooting guards list, and this should be very interesting. Hey, Gary, we can start with you, bro.
So we're starting off at number 10.
Yeah, number 10.
All right.
And after you guys say, you could give a little reason why.
First of all, I'll bring up this chat. Monte Ellis was a bucket getter. I agree. And shout out to Santos. Host of Raptor Mania and Leaf Mania.
What's happening to Santos?
Hey.
Everyone go check out Raptor Mania.
Raptor Mania. Come on, bro. Nice.
Nah, bro. But all right, so number 10 is where we're starting, correct?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. I mean, I do have an honorable mention. I'm not going to say who that is because I feel like you guys might not have him on your list either. Maybe you do, Gabe. If I'm trying to remember what your list was when you made yours a couple weeks ago. But my number 10 for the shooting guards, I put Anthony Simons. And I put Anthony Simons number 10. I feel like he had a really solid year last year. The thing about the shooting guards is like I feel like there's like 13 or 14 of them, and then after that there's a noticeable drop off. You know what I mean? And it's like these guys shouldn't even be in the conversation. But with Simons, it's like, I know I'm getting a 20-point per game scorer. He was pretty efficient last year. I know last year probably wasn't his best defensive showing, but he showed me that he can be a quality defender, at least for that position, which some of these guys you can't really say the same about. not everybody, but some of them did the same thing. And then at least for like a shooting guard, like he really has the intangibles to play both on the ball and off the ball, which I don't think quite as many of these guys do either above him. So because of that, and I mean, he's still young. I think he's only like 24, which is crazy because he's been in the league for like 5 years now or whatever. I think he's going into like a 6th year or something. So that's just crazy to think of. But I'm going to put him at number 10. I think he took like 9 threes a game last year or something, shooting like 38% as well. So it's like he's one of the best high volume, high efficiency, high enough efficiency 3-point shooters in the league. So I'm going to put him number 10.
So in other contexts, my number 10 was not on my list. He was my first name off. That's because I would usually have Bradley Beal on this list, but I know he didn't qualify for us today. So my honorable mention gets to move up, and he's in my number 10 spot. And Garrett, I'm glad that you were talking about high volume, high level 3-point shooters, because at number 10, I got Klay Thompson. I think he's still that good. I think he's good enough to be there. You got to understand, he might not be prime Klay Thompson, but prime Klay Thompson.
10's a little disrespectful. I'm not gonna lie. 10's a little disrespectful.
Oh my God, here we fucking go.
Oh man.
But
I'm just saying. Sorry, I had to say it, bro.
He's not prime Klay Thompson. He used to be like top 2, top 3 at his position, but now, like, he's not that. But he still shot 10.6 threes a game and was still a 41% shooter on that. Like, still a very efficient catch and shoot option, can really excel in that role. He's obviously going to play that role well because he's so experienced in that Golden State system. So he's taking a bit of a step back, but we know what Klay can bring to the table. And he still has a lot of big games for the Warriors on a lot of different nights when they need it. So I got to give him that nod.
And number 10, I got Klay Thompson as well. I mean, we obviously know that Klay is a great shooter, and he consistently is a great shooter. And he also provides good defense. And at number 10, I feel like this is about right. He's taken a step back. He does still contribute to winning, which is very key in my rankings. So Klay Thompson at 10 just makes sense.
Jay, if you got Klay top 3, I might leave the stream.
Listen. First of all, it's fitting that the 2 youngest on the pod pick Klay Thompson 10. Y'all gotta respect y'all elders, man.
Hey,
I don't care about my elders respectfully.
I don't have Klay on my list.
Oh my!
I don't. He was my honorable mention.
Jay's gonna have him at 3 because he won a ring in 2022.
Okay, Garrett did it.
Oh, so yeah, I think Klay has one more year being in this conversation. Yeah, I mean, what do you guys think?
Absolutely. I think
he's on the decline and he's at 10. So, yeah,
also Santos asked a question about what is your definition of a complete team? For me, as a super fan of sports analytics guy, I would say young and old players for a complete team.
I would say I wouldn't say you're completely off, but I would say like you have. I think
the Warriors a couple years ago, yeah, like the Warriors a couple years ago had that blueprint where it's like, actually last year when it's like you mix Kuminga, Moody, and those guys with like the Currys, Clays, and Draymond. So, but yeah,
you need 2 stars, a defensive anchor, some solid depth off the bench, and a couple blue guys to round it out.
That sounds like my 2K lineup.
Can't forget the shooters.
That's a complete team.
Sounds like me on 2K.
3-and-D wings are a necessity. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
I like it. All right, so my number 10 pick is Anthony Simons as well. Anthony Simons showed that he is one of the best young guards in this league. He's been playing off Damian Lillard his entire short career and has been pretty good at it. I would say the only thing I would like Anthony Simons to get better at, besides his defense, he's a smaller guard, so I don't expect him to get much better at that. But I do expect him to be better at his shot selection. Although being a very efficient 3-point shooter, sometimes he settles for tough shots. Although he does have the capability of making them, I would just like him to clean up his shot selection a bit. But Anthony Simons is definitely top 10 worthy.
Yeah. I agree. Big reason why I had him 10 as well. So number 9, who do you want to start, Jay?
How do we do it? Gabe, you can start number 9.
All right. So number 9 is where I have CJ McCollum. Ooh. I think he's still. You got some shit to say every time I name a player, bro.
I couldn't tell if that was like a ooh, like he's on your list, or ooh, he's that low. You know what I mean? Like
CJ ain't making. I ain't gonna lie.
He didn't make my list either.
I only didn't put him. I didn't have him on my list because I'm still counting him as a point guard because he
Yeah,
played there
that's a big
last year.
reason. Yeah.
Otherwise, I will say I would have him on my list. But go ahead.
No, I think CJ is nice, bro. If you don't want to count CJ, then just move Clay up to 9, I suppose, and put Anthony at 10. But I'll still give CJ his props because I don't think he even made anybody's point guard list. I think he had a bit of a down year, but I still think the production he gave New Orleans, especially given the fact that he was thrust into that second option role once again when he probably should be utilized as their third guy. I have to give him credit for still being able to produce in a suboptimal situation. And the Pelicans were still a very quality team, and he was one of the main contributors for that because Zion wasn't there, and somebody had to kind of lead the ship. Even Brandon Ingram missed a fair amount of games, but CJ was really consistent for them all year and was one of the contributing factors to why they were still able to be a 500 team.
At number 9, I have Desmond Bane, a guy that we all know is a good shooter, T-Rex arms. We all love those memes. But I'll also tell you is he's a main contributing factor to the reason that team is successful. I mean, in my opinion, he's the glue guy to that team. And also, on top of that, he contributes heavily to the fact that team is a good defensive team, like 1 through 5, pretty consistently, year in, year out, as of recently. So Desmond Bane is at my number 9 spot.
I find it kind of crazy. Desmond Bane is only 9. That's a little disrespectful. Desmond, I mean, I'm not even gonna get on Desmond Bane because I'll talk about that when I get there. But before we talk about my number 9, Santos said I was recently asked on Raptor Mania on who is the true GOAT, MJ or King James. I said without hesitation, MJ. Santos, you know ball. Santos, you know ball, my brother.
As you should, Santos.
I'm sorry, Santos. Give me King
JELSON,
James.
Stop, bro.
Give me King James.
Bro, you weren't even alive for Jordan.
Crazy.
I don't want to hear it, Garrett.
At least everybody else on this panel was alive for Jordan.
I was alive for Jordan.
That's cap, bro.
His last year.
No, you weren't.
What year did you retire?
03 in April.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you weren't. Yeah, you weren't.
You're right.
All right, so my number 9 is Tyler Hero, bro. I'm not gonna lie, Tyler Hero. He didn't have really like the best year in terms of where a lot of people expected him to grow in his game, but I still value him as a really good shooting guard coming off the bench for the Miami Heat. Unfortunately, he got injured very early in their playoff run. A lot of people were like, "Oh, Tyler Hero got injured, so the Miami Heat were able to thrive without him." That's really not the case. He is a valuable fire. He provides valuable firepower for the Miami Heat coming off their bench as they really needed it when it came down to that Nuggets series in the finals. But yeah, I got Tyler Hero at 9, bro.
So my number 9 is I'm going with Tyrese Maxey at number 9. I don't know. I feel like maybe he's kind of like a lighter version, and he's always felt like a lighter version of someone I have higher on this list. But you can't deny that he's, he can be a quality 3-point shooter. He's definitely a quality shot creator and slasher. He's a little undersized, so on the defensive end, he doesn't really get the best of too many guys, and really it's only the guys that are maybe like too slow at handling the ball or something like that. But overall, I mean, I still think he's one of the quality shooting guards in the league. In the last couple of years, the one thing about him is he's always elevated his game every single year. And so I just saw what Drew Hanlon said. He said, I'm going to be disappointed if Tyrese Maxey's not averaging 25 points a game next year, and especially if James Harden isn't playing on that team. I can expect him to do something like that. I mean, he's going to have a lot more shot opportunities. I feel like we're at the point with Joel Embiid where it's like he's been a scoring champion multiple times. He's been an MVP already now. So it's like the next thing on his forefront should probably be a championship. And so like the regular season, as long as he can get there, get a quality seed, probably isn't a big thing to him. Being a scoring champion probably doesn't mean as much to him. But someone like Tyrese Maxey, it might be huge, to break out, maybe be a first-time All-Star. And I think he has a chance to do that. So I'm going to put Maxey number 9.
Maxey number 9 is decent. Not where I have him, but you can go, Justin. Kick us off for number 8.
Number 8, I have Tyrese Maxey. I pretty much agree with everything that Garrett said. I mean, the fact is that he is, in my opinion, other than Joel Embiid, the most important factor of that 76ers team, and his development is so very important for that 76er team. And the fact that he continues to develop and show an offensive game, I won't say the word that Gabe hates, but an offensive game that he just continues to develop. His defense isn't great, but he continuously shows that his playmaking is just getting better and that he can contribute to a winning culture. And I think Tyrese Maxey is a great fit on that 76ers team. And once James Harden leaves, as we talked about, Tyrese Maxey is ready to take that step.
I like that. I like that. My number 8 is DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray, one of the best two-way guards in this league. He hasn't yet found success playing alongside Trae Young. Although they did make the playoffs this year, took a couple games off the Celtics. But DeJounte Murray has shown that he can be one of the best defenders at that guard position, and I think he deserves a top 10 spot when it comes to the best shooting guards in this league.
Yeah. It's funny you have him there because I also have him at number 8. I think on the defensive end and in terms of players that simply just, get the job done, and also players that are, capable of doing just about everything. I mean, people forget that, just because he's playing this past year in Atlanta, like people forget this dude was kind of on triple-double watch for a season with the San Antonio Spurs. And I think you could argue that maybe he was more important the year after. But at least on the defensive side of things, I think he definitely has an edge over a lot of these guys I have on my list. And personally, I think that he's one of the more versatile shooting guards as well. That, really, depending on what team he's on, he could almost qualify for a point guard list and probably could make the point guard list as well, which I think there's more depth there when we're doing a top 10 anyways. So I had DeJounte Murray. Number 8, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but I have him number 8.
Either you guys are really high on somebody or there's some issue with the positions. But we're going to get there when we get there. And I'm going to let you know if there's a player that you guys have that I don't, because I have Tyrese Maxey at 8. I think a lot of you guys had him at 9, but I didn't have DeJounte lower than that. So unless there's some random guy, if it's the same 7 guys, but you guys got I don't know. I guess we'll see. I guess we will see. But I got Tyrese Maxey at 8. I don't really need to iterate too much because I'm just going to repeat what everybody else said. Great up-and-coming scorer, exciting guard, raises his game in the playoffs. That's as much as I got to give you.
My number 7 is Klay Thompson. Y'all had him way too low. Klay Thompson, the multi-time champion, two of the best shooters ever to play in the NBA. Klay Thompson, bro. His name alone holds top 10 value in this league.
First of all,
so that was your number 7.
His name alone does not warrant top 10. But
absolutely does.
Second of all, who did you have him above then?
I got him above DeJounte, Tyler Hero, and Anthony.
Okay,
I'm not gonna lie. Tyler Hero at 9 is crazy, bro.
Yeah. Bro,
I didn't
have
Hero was not in consideration.
I didn't even put him on my
list.
He wasn't even an honorable mention, bro.
Okay.
We got Santos saying as well back on this. I just disagree with Jelson saying that James is the true GOAT.
He doesn't know what he's talking about, Santos.
Hey, I don't want to hear it, bro.
DeJounte is the most underrated top tier player in the league. Tyler Hero is not 9.
Facts. Hey,
Tyler Hero's not 9.
Jay, I don't want to hear it out of you because you had Luka at 5 or 4 or something.
No, Luka was actually 4. He wasn't 5. And
go ahead.
There were notable players above him.
Jamal
Murray was over Luka. That was the worst dude.
That's the worst take I've actually ever heard.
That brother got a ring. I don't know what to tell you. Luka ain't make the playoffs.
Well, there's a lot of dudes that don't have a ring.
I'm
like saying Robert Horry is better than Barkley.
He just won a ring. Stop. He just won a ring.
Jay, what I have to know is, what I need to know from you is, are you making a all-time list or are you making a current list? Because you said he has rings that he was not the best player on. And when he was when Klay was a superstar player, that was rings that happened 5 years ago. He was good in 2022, but he wasn't this star. So like,
I'd argue
what?
Poole.
I mean,
Are you making a current list, or
Like-
are you taking him higher off of his legacy?
Hold on.
He's taking name
What makes him
value.
better?
Hold on,
What makes him better right now?
I would say, all right. So a lot of people will point to the playoffs, who obviously he underperformed, but look at the regular season. He still had a phenomenal and efficient regular season, and that's pretty much where I think Klay Thompson still ranks among some of the best shooting guards in the league.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
have to take
he
in the-
underperformed
Where
in
I
the
have
playoffs, but
him, where he has him, like in terms of his list, the players that he has him above, I don't hate because the
I
fact that
think
he has
it's fair.
Tyler Hero in his top 10, and he's above Tyler Hero in my opinion, so that's right. And I would say Clay's above Anthony Simons, so that's right.
Yeah.
But like,
I disagree.
I don't know.
Okay.
Was that your number
think that was
7 though?
accurate.
Jay, Clay was your number 7.
Yes, number 7.
Okay, so then it's my number 7 or whatever. My number 7, I think you already named him, Jelson. I feel like you're a little low on him, but I have Desmond Bane at my number 7. I feel like this guy, and honestly, like if we were like, I'm basing it kind of off right now, what I know, what can I expect, but there's a potential. I think he could even hop maybe another spot or two, depending on if he actually takes the jump that's presented there right now with Ja missing the first 25 games of the season. But I already told you guys, I think he's going to win most improved player this year with Ja out. I feel like he's going to be the number 1 scoring option on a team that's been top 2 in the West the last couple of years. And I feel like even if they're not top 2 again this year, they're still going to be good enough that they're probably going to find themselves in the playoff picture once again. And his numbers are going to go up. I think he will average like 25 points a game. And we already know that, defensively, even though he has like one of the shortest wingspans in the league, especially for his position, I think defensively, like he can still contribute at a solid level and even a high level at points. So
Hey,
I'm gonna go
Garrett,
with number 7. Yeah.
there's a reason T-Rexes were some of the most dangerous dinosaurs. The arm size has
As they
nothing to
studied
do
Desmond
about
Bane
it.
highlights.
Yeah, exactly.
Yo. All right. I got a question for Jay
Yeah.
and Garrett.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Do you guys have Paul George or Jaylen Brown on this list?
So,
no.
I did not
don't
put
have
Paul
Paul-
George on my list.
Yeah, I don't have
But
Paul
is
George.
Jaylen Brown on your list? I'm trying to figure out who you guys
Yeah,
have on
I have,
here.
Yeah.
I have Jaylen Brown. I don't have Paul George.
I
will
think Paul George
say-
is listed as a small forward on basketball.
I think so too.
I will say no. That's a valid point because most of last year the freaking Clippers started Marcus Morris. So I don't know why I wasn't thinking of that, but you know what? I'll rearrange my list and put Paul George in. He would not have come up yet.
Well, I don't have Paul George on my list. I was asking because I don't have either of them on my list, and that's why you guys have like an extra player above me. Because
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown has the past 2 seasons has been a small forward on Basketball Reference, so I put him on the small forwards list.
Yeah, I don't know.
But,
I've always
if he's in this list, then I need to move all of my guys down.
Well, I have Jaylen Brown on this list. I do not have Paul George on this list.
I have Jaylen Brown as well.
Oh
Okay,
yeah, I didn't
Paul
even
George.
notice the last 2 seasons. You're right. Yeah, I got him on my list too.
Okay,
So should we put
then-
Paul George or no?
No. I think we
No,
should
no,
actually
don't
put Paul
put-
George.
Paul George out.
Don't put Paul George, but okay. So since it's my turn, I'll say now at this point, just go ahead and take CJ off of there, and I'm gonna go Anthony Simons at 10, Clay at 9, and then Maxey at 8. Wait, no, Anthony goes off. It's Clay at 10, Maxey at 9, DeJounte at 8, and then 7 would be Desmond Bane as well. So I'm on the same page as you guys. I was wondering why
We got
everybody-
basically the same list. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. Other than you have Clay at 10 and I have Simons. So then wait. Okay, we can discuss, I guess, the Paul George Kawhi thing for small forward, I guess, a different time. But like that'll have to be brought up.
Okay, my number 7 is DeJounte Murray. Great defender, as we already know. I'm not super high on him. Just as like like when I watch him play basketball, don't really like his game, but I have to give him credit where credit is due. He's a great defender. and he has an improved offensive game, and he's a valuable offensive player at this point in his career. So him at 7 feels just about right, and I couldn't have him any higher.
Like it. Yeah, you want to start us off at number 6?
Yeah, I'll go number 6. And it's gonna seem kind of a little counterintuitive, with me being the first person to name this guy. But number 6, I have Zach LaVine. I think he's a quality bucket getter for sure, and especially as a 3-point shooter, he's definitely evolved that over time from being the dunker he once was. The one thing about Zach LaVine, and honestly, my guy that I have at number 5 is culprit of this a little bit as well, is that a lot of they are very limited with a lot of the moves that they do, and a lot of times it's predictable. And so the reason I guess I have number 5 higher than number 6, or the guy at number 5 higher than the guy at number 6, is I think he's had more of the success part of it alongside of it than Zach LaVine, who's only made the playoffs once and only really won one game, and it's just because DeMar DeRozan basically carried him to a victory. So I'm going to go with Zach LaVine at number 6. I think defensively, I do think he's better than what people think defensively. The problem is he just doesn't try enough on the defensive end, and he doesn't exert enough energy on that side of the floor. So I do think he's a little bit better than what people think defensively. It's just that he doesn't show it enough. And because of that, I'm going to go with him at number 6.
I'm right there with you. I feel very unoriginal at this point because, Zach LaVine is the guy here at number 6. He can score very well, but outside of that, I think that his game has a little bit more holes than most of the guys above him, and he's one of the every guy above him I can see being like a 1 or like a 1B on a very good contender level team, and I see Zach LaVine as like a 1B right now, and I don't think he's that level of guy. So I'm very talented. I think this was like firmly his spot.
Well, I feel also extremely unoriginal because I have Zach LaVine at 6 as well. Fantastic offensive player 90% of the time, and his defense has improved over time. The consistency is rough on the defensive end, but when he tries, I have seen flashes of him being a above average defender, so that gives him brownie points in my list. So Zach LaVine is at number 6.
Nobody's eating brownies if Jelson's cooking them or baking them.
I think Zach LaVine clears Beal.
Zach LaVine,
LaVine's better than Beal.
Dude, I have Beal at 9 on this list.
I'm not gonna lie, fellas. I kind of messed up this list. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna have to replace Tyler Hero and slide Zach LaVine in there because he did not make it. Don't know why.
Wait, so LaVine's at 9?
Yes, LaVine's at 9. Yeah, he's not better than DeJounte, Clay, or Tyrese Maxey. Let's be honest. Sorry.
Clay,
not better than Tyrese Maxey.
No, I'm taking Tyrese over him. Zach LaVine's a nice player and all, but
name 3 things Tyrese Maxey does better than Zach LaVine.
No. Here's the thing.
Be part of a winning team.
If I'm
so basically, the first reason is he plays with Joel Embiid, essentially the MVP.
Bro, his reasoning for Jamal Murray was that he plays with Jokic.
Listen.
I'm doing positional rankings based on my favorite players from now on. I'm not doing this shit objectively. You're not doing this shit objectively.
Zach LaVine has been basically the same player for the last few years. Tyrese Maxey's getting better every year.
Tyrese Maxey never been Zach LaVine.
Hold on, Jay.
Yeah. At this point,
you have Zach LaVine below Klay Thompson, with your reasoning for Zach LaVine being at 9 because he's the same player, but you did not deduct Klay for getting worse.
See,
that makes any sense.
At least with Klay,
context, he plays within the Warrior system. He only needs to do about 1 or 2 things, to be honest. And come on,
what does LaVine? LaVine needs to do a lot more for the Bulls.
And is he that good at it? Let's be honest.
If Klay was on his own team, I can assure you that it wouldn't be that well either.
I beg to differ. If Klay gets more touches, I don't know if that's completely true. I don't know if that's completely true. I'm gonna tell you right now. If we're talking about putting the ball on the floor, everyone on my whole list does that better than Klay Thompson.
Just Alex
but that's
even
that's
a prime Klay Thompson.
But Klay Thompson shoots better than everybody on this list.
He has those opportunities though because he's played with Steph Curry and Kevin Durant, and they draw all the attention. Now, not Durant now, but he did, and with him and Curry, bro, how many open shots is Klay Thompson gonna get?
That's fair, no, but Zach LaVine is I guess you can't say he's the number one option on the Bulls because DeMar DeRozan is there.
No, but he's the number one option behind the 3-point line on the perimeter.
I guess I'm not saying he's inefficient or a bad player or anything like that. I'm just saying I'd rather take DeJounte. He plays defense and gives you a little bit on offense. I'd rather take Klay Thompson, phenomenal shooter. He's spotty on defense. Doesn't move like he used to, but I still value him higher than I do Zach LaVine. And I'd rather take. Did we say number 6? I didn't say number 6 yet.
Jay.
I get your Klay thing because that's also more like historical, anyways. And I get DeJounte Murray. I can't get behind Tyrese Maxey, bro.
No, I want to
do anything better.
I have a history of saying this. At this point in Klay's career, he's a glorified 3-and-D player, and you have Klay above Zach LaVine.
LaVine,
I think he's basing it more like as well what he's done. That it's like, okay, I don't agree, but I understand that. What has Tyrese Maxey done that's proven he's better than LaVine?
Let me take it back to Klay real quick. I mean, Klay didn't have a dog shit season. I mean, he had a pretty good season, and Zach LaVine
was the best player on the Bulls for the last 2 months of the year, by the way.
I mean that's cool, no, but the Bulls didn't make it to the playoffs. I mean, let's be honest.
Hey, but the way they turned the season around, they were looking like a playoff team the last 2 months of the season.
I mean, yeah, sure, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm not taking Zach LaVine over Klay Thompson, bro.
I
largely disagree. To each their own.
All right, hold on. Let me explain Tyrese Maxey because that is my number 6, Tyrese Maxey. I'd rather Tyrese Maxey because not only has he showed that he can play winning basketball alongside two very ball dominant players in Joel Embiid and James Harden, and still be able to get his own, still be able to, when the offense slows down, he is that momentum pusher. He is the firepower. He's somebody that sparks the team up. And if you're talking about Zach LaVine can do that, but I seen way more time Tyrese Maxey spark his team up when the offense starts to slow down in situations like that. I know I said Zach LaVine's been the same player for the last couple of years, and Tyrese Maxey just reached 20 points per game, but Tyrese Maxey is shot 6 3-point attempts on about 43% from 3, bro. I mean that's pretty fucking incredible.
You know why?
From the field.
Because Joel Embiid drops so many double teams and he gets so many open opportunities.
That's fine, but you could say the same thing about DeMar DeRozan because he's a demon in the mid range, and you can't tell me
say the opposite about DeMar DeRozan because it packs everything in.
But if Zach LaVine's at the 3-point line, how does that affect his spacing?
Because everyone works
there.
What?
If DeMar DeRozan's in the mid range and they're throwing doubles at him, and Zach LaVine's at the 3-point line, how does that mess up his spacing?
What did you say, Gabe? Too?
Bro, it doesn't even matter.
I'm just saying, like, bro, I've seen so many times where DeMar DeRozan, he works like within 5 feet inside the 3-point line, which is widely considered within that range, often considered the worst shot in basketball. The thing about DeMar DeRozan, though, is that he's so good at it that it's like taking that shot, it's an efficient offense almost every single time, assuming he has the better end of the matchup. But for Zach LaVine in particular, it doesn't benefit him a lot. That's why a lot of people say these guys cannot coexist. And if you put him in a different situation, then maybe he would. I'm saying if Joel Embiid's drawing like 2 people and he has Zach LaVine to kick out to on a catch and shoot, rather than LaVine doing this little jab step back 3 that I've seen him do so many times where he has no lift on his leg ever since that surgery, bro, if he's getting open threes, I'm telling you, things are going to be different.
I mean, isn't that a player flaw instead of like saying Zach LaVine's just not beneficial because he doesn't get the space Tyrese Maxey gets? I mean, if you're making the shot more difficult
Maxey
for you,
can get downhill, but in terms of the step back, you're telling me that Tyrese Maxey's like step back, he gets more space, or he's a better step back 3-point shooter, shooter than?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if that's Zach LaVine's preference when it comes to shooting his 3-pointers, that's a player flaw. That is
a player flaw. I agree with that, but it's not like Tyrese Maxey is super, high IQ shot selection either.
I mean that field goal percentage and 3-point percentage that says something different.
It's not, bro.
Are we
He
still?
he's a lot in a lot of ways. I'm gonna say like this, and I'm not comparing the two. In a lot of ways, when he goes downhill, it's very reminiscent of what you've probably seen as a Knicks fan of when RJ Barrett and the way he goes downhill. I'm not comparing the two like as players because I would say Tyrese Maxey's a better player, but I'm just saying like in terms of getting downhill, and a lot of stuff is often forced because there's a player that sometimes he would do that, and this is before he was even in the top 5 discussion. I haven't named him yet. Sometimes he would do that at points, and that's why he wasn't top 5 on my shooting guard list. And eventually I'm going to get to him, but that's what I'm saying. It's like I feel like there's also times like that where Tyrese Maxey's shot selection isn't quite the greatest. You know what I mean? So it's like holding that against Zach LaVine too, when it's not like Tyrese Maxey is like shooting 50% from the field and 40% from 3 or something like that. Like that's.
I mean, he damn near is though. If you look at he damn near is.
Okay.
I mean, all right, let's move on.
Good God.
Let's just move on, bro.
Yeah. What's your number 6, bro?
My number 6. I already gave my 6 was.
We're at 5.
Oh, okay.
I think
Gabe, what's your number? What's your number 5?
For my number 5 best shooting guard in the NBA, I'm at a bit of a toss-up here now that we had another guy introduced into this list. But my gut reaction is telling me to go with Kyrie Irving here. And I feel like Kyrie is such a good, well-defined, just skillful player. Like, especially on his offensive game, there's not really a lot of holes there. But he doesn't offer the defense of a guy I have above him. And his availability has definitely been a concern for really most of his career, but especially the last couple of years. And it's like half on-court injury-related stuff and half off-court controversy stuff that keeps him off the court. But either way, he's just such a question mark of like, is he going to be there or is he not? And so I feel like at that point, it almost makes it harder to like build him as a core contributor to a team because of those question marks. And that's why like you've seen all these teams with Kyrie on them come up short and not really reach their full potential over the past few seasons, really since he left Cleveland, if we're being honest. So he's still a great player. And like when he plays, he's giving you a very efficient, very smooth 27 without stopping the offense too much. And it's such a valuable asset, but it's like, there's limiting factors around him because of who he is.
Okay, I completely agree, and I also have Kyrie Irving at number 5. And when we talk about like aesthetic players in the league when they're on the court, we talk about Paul George a lot of the time as just a smooth, good basketball player. Kyrie Irving is right up there with like a Paul George. Like I enjoy watching Kyrie Irving so much. He's one of the best offensive players I personally ever like. Offensive guards that I've ever watched. And it's just the question mark of, is he going to play? What's his locker room attitude going to be that certain day, that certain year, that certain week, that certain month? And that's the biggest question mark. And his defense is lacking. So I have him at number 5 purely off of those factors.
Fellas, I'm not going to lie. I messed up again, bro. I did not have Kyrie on this list. I don't know why, bro.
I was like, nah.
I don't know why. So I'm gonna have to move my list down. So we're gonna have Zach at 10, DeJounte at 9, Clay at 8, Tyrese Maxey at 7, and we're gonna have Kyrie at 6. And we're just gonna put Kyrie at 6. My number 5 though is Desmond Bane. Desmond Bane had a hell of a year, specifically when Ja Morant was not in the lineup. When he had the opportunity to develop his playmaking skills while not falling off from his scoring. That's very important. And although Desmond Bane is the biggest guard or has the longest wingspan, I wouldn't consider him that much of a defensive liability. Although he's not a lockdown defender by any means, he does hold his own. He is a stocky guy, so he's not too prone to blow-bys, but he's not going to go up and get a chase down block or anything. But Desmond Bane has shown to be a phenomenal perimeter shooter. And like I said, he was able to take the next step in his game and develop his playmaking. And I think we saw a lot of that from him.
Ladies and gentlemen, Zach LaVine is now number 10 on Jay's list. Can we give him a round of applause?
Lower than Tyrese Maxey, who didn't make the six man's top 10 at all.
Hey, sick. That's crazy.
I do
Yeah.
think that's kind of crazy. I'm not gonna
I think it's
lie.
less crazy than if Zach LaVine didn't make the top 10, though.
It's both are crazy. Two legends can coexist, but
Who can't go with
That's
it?
facts.
that's wild takes.
We're number 5, right?
Yeah.
I'm on still. My number 5. You guys have all named Kyrie. I'm going with Jaylen Brown at number 5. Might be a little bit of a hot take, but I just feel like when you compare him to a Kyrie, granted, yeah, he's had more success in recent years, of course. He's been to the finals and the conference finals the last 2, and he's played a big part. He's had big series. Even in the finals, he was really their best player. But it's like, from a skill standpoint, and I get it, he's a better defender than Kyrie, but I just feel like Kyrie does so much, and especially if I'm a shooting guard, and I'm like, if I'm getting matched up with Kyrie Irving or if I'm getting matched up with Jaylen Brown on any night, I'm more fearful of the Kyrie Irving matchup than I am of Jaylen Brown. That's 100% of the time. Now, on the defensive end, yeah, Jaylen Brown's probably going to give you more problems. I do think Kyrie maybe gets too much of a bad rep on the defensive end, but I think maybe at least for Jaylen Brown, it's not going to be as intimidating as if you're guarding Kyrie on the offensive end and what he can do both as a playmaker, as a scorer, and the way he could heat up. It's one of the craziest like heat checks almost in the league. And I also think like with Kyrie, the thing that hurts him is kind of his off the court issues. But if I'm basing it off of, right now and just like straight up who I'd still rather believe in if I want the best player, I'm still going to go with Kyrie over him. Might seem crazy, but I'm going to go with Kyrie above him. And whether Kyrie is 1, 2, 3, or 4 remains to be seen, but I have Jaylen Brown number 5.
It's not crazy at all. I'm not gonna lie. Like, dude, like I literally said, I was debating it once I figured out Jaylen Brown was on this list, who was gonna be higher or lower between him and Kyrie. And the reason I went with Jaylen Brown over him at 4 really ended up being that availability, because half of it is off the court, but I do think a decent part of it is that he's always been kind of injury prone. And with Jaylen Brown, I think that the holes in Kyrie's defensive game and the holes in Jaylen Brown's offensive game make them very close. Now, even in that sense, I still think that the holes in Jaylen Brown's game aren't like – I think they've been kind of overrated, I'll say. Like, I really don't think they're as horrific as some people make them out to be. But even with that said, like, these are players – and I always rank the same way. I say, listen, if you're on a complete higher tier than somebody, then regardless of your availability, I'm just going to put you higher. But if you're on a similar tier to somebody, which I think Jaylen Brown and Kyrie are, Kyrie's availability then did hurt him, and I put him lower for that reason.
I do think the one thing that, like, definitely there's the biggest gap in, though, is probably the ball handling. That's something that's going to be hard for me to get over, and I get it. It's like
it's the best of all time.
Kyrie's not your typical shooting guard because he's a point guard, really, that's now a shooting guard with Luka in that system. But it's like he does qualify, and it's like we got the best ball handler of all time, probably. And then Jaylen Brown is like, of everyone on this list, like probably one of the worst ball handlers of this list. And that's not to say he's bad, but like in comparison to your peers, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
It's my turn, right, to give number 4?
Number 4, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, number 4, I have the obvious because we talked about these two as a combination.
Combination.
I knew somebody was going to say that.
We're gonna have to stitch that.
TikTok.com/TikTok
and do it again.
Oh my God. No, you know what's funny is mid combination, I realized what I was saying. Like, and
that short like dropped on our channel literally like today.
Yeah.
Number 4, Jaylen Brown. As we talked about, I think that the flaws in his game have been really overblown, especially this last postseason, especially considering that when they were in the finals, Jaylen Brown was their best player, and everybody doesn't talk about that. Everybody talks about how he just didn't have a good postseason last year, which is fair because recency bias is a real thing, and I have the same left hand as Jaylen Brown, but that doesn't really... To me, it's like the other assets that Jaylen Brown really brings to the table. And obviously the best ability is availability, so that's part of why I have him over Kyrie Irving. I value defense a lot. So Jaylen Brown, even though he hasn't been as good of a defender in the past couple of years as he was just a few years prior to that, I still have him over because of the fact that he's had more team success in recent years, the fact that he is a better defender, and the fact that I feel like at this point he's a more versatile player.
And he's the best JB in the league.
No, he's not. Stop.
I like that take. I like that take.
Oh wait, no, he's not even, because I forgot about Jimmy Butler. I was saying that because of Brunson, but
give me Jaylen Brown.
It would have been wrong anyways.
Facts.
My number 4. Wait, first of all, Jelson, I'm not gonna lie. You better not have that motherfucking Minnesota over Jaylen Brown. I'm not gonna lie to you. My number 4 is that motherfucking Minnesota.
Nah, rewind.
Stop.
Nah, hold up. Justin, I'm gonna switch your shit off because he's like your favorite player. But Jay, did you just say don't put that dude in Minnesota over Jaylen Brown?
Yeah.
Literally everybody else has him. Everybody else has him. Everybody else has that guy over Jaylen Brown. Everybody else has said Jaylen Brown and not him.
Oh, y'all all said Jay. Oh, I didn't even realize. That's crazy because y'all are absolutely wrong. I'm not going. JB is not. I talk to him. I talk about.
Hey,
him.
I am not tripping about that ranking after your Zach LaVine ranking and your Luka ranking. So,
all right, hold on.
Their own, my friend. To each their own.
Before I start cooking, let me give him some praise real quick.
There's literally nothing you can cook him about. That's the craziest thing. There's literally nothing you can cook him about.
No, you're right. My number 4 is Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is a phenomenal player. I mean, there's really no doubt about it. He's improved in literally every statistical category across the board every single year he's been in the league. And I love that. I love a workhorse, and what really impresses me is his game log, 70, 72, 79. And is a reliable player you can count on night in and night out. He takes pride in stepping on that court and giving it his all every single night. And when Karl-Anthony Towns had went out, boom, it was his team now. He got the keys to the throne. He got the keys to the Ferrari, bro. And he took off, absolutely took off. And in Team USA, you can obviously see he has that dog in him. He has that DNA that you look for in a player. That A factor, perfect. Because him, along with everybody else on the team, he stood out. He was the guy that you would go to on damn near every possession. Yeah, he was taking them shots every possession, but still, I like that. I like it. He was making them, and that's why I got Anthony Edwards at number 4, bro. He's absolutely ascending the top shooting guards list at a very fast pace, and don't be surprised if he hits number 1 by the end of the season.
I need you to keep
Team USA only had this dog in them, bro. The only dog Team USA had in them.
Oh, bro.
Listen,
don't disrespect my question.
Jay, I need you to keep talking, bro, because I need to know from you right now. Do you have Jaylen Brown at 3?
Hey, yo, who's next? Do
you have Jaylen Brown at 3?
It's Gabe on. Or no, it's me. Actually,
it's a yes or no question.
Hey, you gotta wait and find out.
Go first.
No, I haven't got my 4 yet.
Oh, okay.
And neither of you. You haven't got all 4 yet either.
I gave my 4.
Who'd you say?
I literally told you why I had Jaylen Brown over Kyrie.
Oh yeah. Well, I know that's why you said he was above him. I didn't know you had him at 4, but I guess that makes sense because you were talking about Ant. My number 4, just to say it, is Kyrie. I did have him number 4. It is kind of close with him and JP, but I'm still gonna go with Kyrie. I just feel like he's a more talented player all around, and especially if both in the playoffs. I know recent years hasn't been quite as kind to him, but I mean, I don't know. I just feel a little bit more trustworthy with Kyrie than Jaylen Brown on my team if both are playing on the biggest stage.
All right.
I feel a little bit more comfortable knowing who the fuck Jay has at 3.
Yo, it's coming, bro. Yo, Justin.
It's coming right now.
No, Jay, it's your turn now. It is your turn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. People want to know.
All right, so number 3, I got JV. I got Jaylen Brown, bro.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me know.
I got
why.
Jaylen Brown, bro. Listen, respectfully, Jaylen Brown, like my boy Justin said, was the best player on that finals team when they made the finals 2 years ago. That holds a lot of weight with me. Jaylen Brown also made the conference finals with his boy.
Jay. I said he was the best player in the finals, not the best player on the finals team. Okay, let's get that a whole straightened up.
Regardless, Jaylen Brown made the the Eastern Conference Finals this year alongside Jason Tatum. Can we keep it a buck? Both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they had pretty inconsistent playoff performances throughout their whole run. I mean, you can't put most of the blame on Jaylen Brown when Jason Tatum was shooting bricks for a lot of the games. I mean, in that game 6 against the Philadelphia 76ers, he was shooting ass, and then boom, fourth quarter he turns it on, and then boom, we're in a game 7, and he goes absolutely crazy. So I think Jaylen Brown also made an All-NBA team. He had a phenomenal regular season. We can't take that away from him. And I do think he's just better than a lot of these guys we have on this list. Like I just mentioned, Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is great, phenomenal, but he didn't have the year that Jaylen Brown did. I know Anthony Edwards is ascending fast, but not just yet. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Jaylen Brown is still one of the best top 3 shooting guards in this league because he has shown that he can perform in high pressure situations. Anthony Edwards has shown that. Anthony Edwards has shown that, but he hasn't been able to perform, or hasn't gotten the opportunity to perform on the biggest stages like Jaylen Brown has in his career. Yes, you could say, oh, that's because of team construction, or I'm in the Western Conference, he in the East is easier. Whatever your argument may be, I'm still having Jaylen Brown over him. He was second team All-NBA or first team? Whichever one. He's an All-NBA player, bro. He's a phenomenal shooting guard. Yeah, people are gonna be like, oh, he got no left hand. We're gonna forget that he cut his hand sometime in that playoffs. We're just gonna ignore that. I guess, bro.
Okay, let me cook, because I want to say this with absolutely all respect to Jaylen Brown, because he's a fantastic player, and there's a reason I have it at number 4. But the reason Jaylen Brown is at my number 4 and Anthony Edwards is at my number 3, spoiler, is because Anthony Edwards is Jaylen Brown, but better at everything. That's like the difference here, is he's a more versatile player than Jaylen Brown. At this point in their career, I take Anthony Edwards defensively over Jaylen Brown, simply because Jaylen Brown hasn't been as good on defense as he was in years past. And you brought up the fact that the clutchness and the important factors and how they played. And I don't have all these stats out of my head, so some of this is kind of skewing, and I could be slightly off on some of this stuff. But I believe Anthony Edwards is like second in playoff points per game before the age of 22 or something like that, with like 29 points per game in the playoffs. And he averaged 31 points per game in the playoffs last postseason, and played elite defense. And we talked about this earlier, and the fact is Minnesota's team isn't as good as the Celtics team. So I'm not going to say that, give Jaylen Brown his props, because he was the best player in the finals that one year. But what I will guarantee you is if Anthony Edwards was in the finals, he would be a better player than Jaylen Brown. But that's playing the what-if game, okay?
Hypotheticals.
Yes, exactly. That's playing the hypothetical game. But I will give you what is for real, what is now, okay? He is a superior player in every fashion of the game. He's a better ball handler, a better shooter, a better mid-range shooter. He's a better finisher at the rim. He's a better defender, and he's a better playmaker. Like,
better defender might be a sneak, but I think the rest is very clearly on
that's I give him better defender for sure. I'll give him better defender. Jaylen Brown regressed a bit.
It's a sneak to say who's a better defender than who.
Anthony Edwards is better defender than Jaylen Brown.
I don't know. I don't know, man.
And here's what I said: Jaylen Brown, and the reason I say this is because if we would ask a couple years ago, I would probably say Jaylen Brown is a better defender than this current day Anthony Edwards. But Jaylen Brown hasn't been that the past couple of seasons. So I can't say that currently. And we're talking about currently, right? So Anthony Edwards is the better defender. And like the difference here is the way that Anthony Edwards and the off the court stuff too. Anthony Edwards is the leader Jaylen Brown has never been. Anthony Edwards is the vocal leader. The guy.
He's a bus rider. Call him a bus rider, Jelson. Yeah.
And Anthony Edwards has been the guy to call the shots in the big moments. He's the guy that takes the big time shots when they're needed. And he's the guy to call the big time plays when the big time plays are needed to be played. And that's how it is.
Let me give a quick rebuttal real quick. Let me give let me give a quick rebuttal too. Let me just say if Anthony Edwards had a player of his stature, his talent at his position, hey, he'd be fine for the touches too. I mean, let's be honest, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they damn near play the same position. But hey, I mean
that's over. That argument is over with because you have
why is it over?
Carly Towns, Rudy, and Mike Conley. These guys because the fact is
they're not shooting guards. They're not even guards.
It doesn't matter if they're shooting guards. If you're taking the shot, you're taking the shot that the other player isn't gonna take. That's just how simple it is.
If you're a guard, you got the ball in your hands. You're facilitating. You're
initiating a shooting guard. He is not a shooting guard. So why did you bring him up if you can't? If I'm Nick, I brought Carly Towns because he's taken a vast majority of the shots at times in Ant's career. And last season, Carly Towns was out for 60 some odd games. And so then Anthony Edwards got to take those shots, albeit having to adjust to play with a guy in the paint and he had to really increase his playmaking ability because it's a completely different type of player down there. And I will say this right now. Mike Conley, D'Lo, when D'Lo was there, D'Lo was chucking, bro. D'Lo was just chucking. He would get the ball, bro, step back, dang near half court, and just pull. Like,
blood was just waffling out there, man.
Like, he just the fact is that if we're gonna talk about shots and shot attempts and touches and all this jazz, that doesn't all to be honest with me. If we're comparing apples to oranges, it doesn't really matter to me. Especially with the fact is that one team had Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who Jason Tatum's going to take all the touch or a lot of the touches because Jason Tatum is that guy. Jason Tatum's a dog. We all know this. But the other team doesn't have a Jason Tatum, but he has multiple different guys that will take those shots as a collective group. And that's something that the Celtics really didn't have. I mean, outside of Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they didn't really have that third option, that fourth option that we're going to demand the ball quite like Minnesota has. So
I mean, I bet to differ. They got Derek White, Marcus Smart. They were taking a lot of Marcus Smart's side, a lot of ill-advised shots. I think that's debatable.
Bro, I'm gonna keep it. The whole.
But you can keep pushing. We can keep pushing.
Yeah, so I think is it me for number 3, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be hard to keep it pushing because I'm bringing us right back. Because number 3 is Anthony Edwards. And I do have him above Jaylen Brown. I just feel like we're poised to have him, take another leap this year. Then I feel like, at least for him, compared to Jaylen Brown, I just feel like his all-around offensive game is a lot more like smooth. And like, this is gonna sound, it might sound kind of crazy, but I'm not comparing the two players. But like, when I watch him, like, it almost feels like, in a way, it's like I'm watching like a modern day version of like a Tracy McGrady. You know what I mean? Now, he's not as tall as T-Mac, but like just someone who can get after it defensively, someone who can create his own shot, whether it's from the fadeaway, whether it's the step back, has a nice handle, can get downhill to the rim, can posterize people. So it's like he can kind of do basically everything. And the other comparison, I guess, with Tracy McGrady is that, like, throughout his career, throughout his whole career, he never got past the first round as like a primary option. I don't think anyone counts that last year with the Spurs when he like just rode the bench. But at least for Ant, like, he's yet to do that. And so I think we're probably eventually, sooner or later, like whether it's in Minnesota or elsewhere, he's going to break through and like win a playoff series, possibly 2 in the same round, and like at least have like a couple chances to actually win a championship. And I feel like this year, the Timberwolves, they had injuries this past season. I think they'll be more healthy next year. They should still be a good team. And I feel like if we're seeing Anthony Edwards take another leap, there's a reason why a lot of people think he could be the scoring champion this coming season. Now, I don't know if I would say that, but I do think that it's in the realm of possibilities. So I'm going to go Anthony Edwards, number 3.
It's so obviously Anthony Edwards. Like, it is so
obviously it's crazy.
It's so obvious. Listen, Jaylen Brown is like a 1B type player at best and has some pretty glaring holes in his game. I don't think that Anthony Edwards has glaring holes in his game. And even talking about the biggest moments and stepping up in the clutch time and in the playoffs and all these different things, even the postseason, because we know the Timberwolves have notoriously gone through the play-in and came out of it when they were in the play-in. But this is his playoff career stats at the age, and I don't even want to bring up his age because it's a better player who's not, like right now. It doesn't matter to me. But his career playoff averages right now: 28 points per game, on 47% from the field, on 38% from three, and that's with like not a great supporting cast. I'm not gonna lie.
Can I ask a question? How many shot attempts?
How many shot attempts?
Percentages, and you asked
20.
I just want to ask the
20.
shot attempts. I'm curious.
He has 20 shots. He's a true number one, and he sees number one option defense. Like that's the level of defense that he's seeing consistently. Like you're like, yeah, Jaylen Brown plays with Jason Tatum, who takes touches away. He also takes away a lot of defensive attention that is not the case with other guys on Anthony Edwards' team. The Anthony Edwards center is a complete non-factor on offense. Cat was in and out a lot of the time, pretty much Ant's whole career. That's around the time when Karl-Anthony Towns started missing a lot of games. But even when he is there, completely different position group. You're putting bigs on Cat, whereas you're putting guards and wings on Ant. Like it's different. And just like across the board, he's a true number one, and he excels even when that defensive attention is thrown at him. He's always liable to explode for some huge game, for some huge momentum-shifting moment. And he's just so much more well-rounded to be a superstar player for a franchise. Jaylen Brown, for as good as he is, has these major flaws in his game, whether it's his ball handling or whether it's playoff games where he's a complete no-show or whether it's his, like, the lack of a left hand, like the fact that it's kind of predictable scoring. And so from that, like, even if Jaylen Brown might put up some better stats, and even though Jaylen Brown might play on a better team, when you say who's a better player, and honestly, who is more of a needle mover between the two, I'm not going to lie to you, it's probably going to be Anthony Edwards. You can say, oh, when Jaylen Brown, like, missed a postseason run, like, the Celtics did get cooked, so I can't say that Jaylen Brown's not a significant needle mover. But with Anthony Edwards, without Anthony Edwards, I still think the Timberwolves are competing for number one picks. And at least nowadays, with him on the roster, they're a consistent playoff berth.
And I also want to add this because we talked about defense is the fact that it's not one of those things where we have like a Steph Curry where Steph Curry has improved on defense simply because he's had time in the NBA, he's learned passing lanes, all that stuff, more steals, stuff like that. Anthony Edwards is number 2 in the entire league among guards for stocks, so steals plus blocks, and that includes number 2 in the league amongst guards for blocks. So, and the only player above is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who we all consider a fantastic defender. So,
that's a reach. I don't think he's a fantastic defender, but I think being fucking like 6'6" helps him a lot.
Well, I think that's part of it too, but I think because of his size, he is a fantastic defender. Maybe the skill set, maybe not as much, but his size and his wingspan and all that stuff helps him on the defensive end. Anthony Edwards, I mean, he's built like a linebacker. We all know this. But he is not this absolute freak in terms of wingspan or stuff like that. He is just a smart defender.
So.
I mean, what I'm saying is he's not a Mikal Bridges, right? Where a Mikal Bridges is a fantastic defender because of the physical attributes he was given. Where Anthony Edwards is just a smart defender. I mean, he's an athletic freak, sure, but he's a smart defender. And athleticism only gets you so far in the league, and we all know this. So being at number 2 in blocks as guards and number 2 in stocks as a guard really shows to me the value on defense. And I don't like bringing up like defensive rating and stuff like that because defensive rating is extremely flawed. So I didn't bring that up.
No, that's fair. I mean, I think we can all agree that Anthony Edwards is a better defensive guard. Like, I don't think that's the debate really, but
well, I don't know if
I don't think
agrees because he said
I think it's close. Like, I don't think it's like as clear as the other attributes are, but I feel like if you're gonna make an argument for Jaylen Brown over Anthony Edwards, like I feel like that's the main place you can go is defense, and if you can't go to defense, then it's like what's the argument for Jaylen Brown over him besides Jaylen Brown went to the finals? And so your argument once again
Tyrese Maxey
and
over
he's on
Levine
a,
argument.
is he a Jamal Murray over Luka argument? Is he had a better team? The argument is he had a better team. So what's the argument for Jaylen Brown?
I mean,
over
when it
Anthony
comes
Edwards?
to when it comes to defense, I mean, I think we can all say Jason Tatum was the better defender on that Celtics team, and Jaylen Brown just didn't look like he could keep anybody in front of him. I mean, from what I saw, that's why I'm thinking that Anthony Edwards is a way better defender. But when it comes to Jaylen Brown, I think you guys are projecting a little bit when it comes to Anthony Edwards. Yeah, like you guys are saying, oh, he's gonna be like a star or whatever it is. I even said by the end of the season he could be like top 1, top 2 best shooting guards in the league. But as of right now, if you give me $100, you say, hey, who are you gonna put your money on? Jaylen Brown or Anthony Edwards?
For what? For what?
To have a better year. I mean, I don't even think that's a good.
Who do you put $100? You put $100.
You would put $100 on that? I'm not putting $100 on that at all.
I'm not
putting $5 on.
I mean, maybe that was a bad example. Maybe that was a bad example. But what I'm saying is that I feel like you guys are probably projecting a bit with Anthony Edwards being this high.
I don't know, because I gave you his career playoff stats. I gave you his career playoff stats up to this point.
I mean that's cool. That's cool when you got like 4 playoff games under your belt. I mean that's 11. Fine. I mean that's all right. Cool.
Put that 100 to use and put it on when we play in 2K,
bro.
Garrett, all right. This is not 2K. This is not 2K.
All right, we need to pull the screenshot.
Hey, okay, I'm not even gonna bring up the 2K, okay, because that's irrelevant here.
Both y'all teams were better than mine, for the record. For anybody,
I installed the game 5 minutes prior to play.
And he had Amethyst 5 minutes later. Crazy, crazy.
But besides the point of 2K, okay.
Who's number 2 for y'all, bro?
No. I had to say this. Please.
Santos putting 20 on Brown, by the way.
I would say you just lost $20, but
hey, you won 40, my brother.
Yeah. Okay. And what I'll say is, right, the fact is, for me in a lot of these rankings is, what are the contributions from other players? Like, what is the system like? How does this player fit into as a number 1 option in an ideal world? And I just put it very simply: Jaylen Brown isn't a 1 option in the NBA.
But he's never had the opportunity to be so.
I mean,
he had years with Kyrie on his team. He had years with Kemba on his team. Jason Tatum,
that's like the Clay thing, like we were talking about. Like if Clay were on his own team, he could be a 1, but it's like that team's probably not going to be that good.
I mean, Jordan Poole's the one on the Wizards, but like, so I think that it's more so we've seen Anthony Edwards be the 1 option on a playoff team already. Jaylen Brown has these factors that, really, in my opinion, do not make me very keen on him being my number 1 option, simply because of the fact that his defense is worse. And if you are the lead guard, I want you to be able to ideally play great defense. And if you can do that, it's an absolutely fantastic ability to have, because we don't have to worry about having a guy running the 1 or a guy running the 3 that's going to make up for your defensive liability. And number 2 is, if you're my star player, I want the ball going through you 90% of the time. And Jaylen Brown has proven to me a lot so far in his career that he has not been able, or is not able to have the ball go through him and to lead to a highly successful team. I mean, no, but it's the truth. The only time that I can think of this happening was in the finals when he was playing well, where they lost in the finals. But other than that, the number 1 guy where the ball has been going through when he was been successful was either Kyrie Irving or it was Jason Tatum. And it's always been like that through his career.
I will say, though, the year when Kyrie and Hayward were injured, he was kind of the number 1 throughout that run, most of it. I know, like, there were moments where it's like, oh, maybe Al Horford was better in, like, these games, or Tatum, or even, like, Terry Rozier. But, like, for the most part, it was Jaylen Brown. Like,
that's the problem, in my opinion, is for you to be a solidified number 1 guy. And I completely agree that he really hasn't had the opportunity to do this. But I'd argue that if you're a all-star level player or a borderline all-star level player, and the reason I say is because Jordan Poole, you could be a number 1 option on a bad team. You could be a number 1 option on a mid team that is just missing the playoffs. And the fact is we don't know if Jaylen Brown could be the number 1 option on a playoff team. we do know Anthony Edwards could be. And the fact is the stuff that people value when it comes to your number one option on a successful team is, one, the ability to run the offense through you, and that includes ball handling. And number two is your defensive versatility at the point of attack, which Anthony Edwards hasn't beat on both attributes. And that's not even including the fact that Anthony Edwards is a better 3-level scorer. And I want to put that aside because the fact that, as we said, there is a difference in how much defense is coming at you versus shot attempts, stuff like that, right? So
would Jaylen Brown be the best player on the Knicks? Or would he be like the best, like, would he be the number one option over Brandon Ingram on the Pelicans or on the Bulls? Because I'm like, these are teams in the last like year, like whether last playoffs or year before, like he could have been the number one option on those teams potentially. And like they made the playoffs. You know what I mean?
So it's like, I think he's like the same level as those guys. I think my biggest thing with him is like, I like his game is just not. It's just not as well rounded to be that number one superstar level guy. Like,
I mean, it's not gonna be well rounded when you got another guy that's
not how that works. No,
if he was that good, then they would. Then what does it matter that Tatum's there? He would be so good that he'd be the number one option.
I mean, like, but all right. So until they made the finals, right, there were a lot of debate whether is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, are they going to work out? That's for a reason. That's because can they coexist? They're both doing the same things. Are they having like problems in the locker room? Like, I want to be the guy. No, I want to be the guy. There are conversations like that when you have two all-star level talents. And it's not just like it's not just something that comes easy. Like shit like that is real.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a time where a player has to sit down and say, I am a number two. Paul George did it just last season, and Jaylen Brown obviously has done it. And there isn't a reason it doesn't come just out of the blue that they're like, I'm the number two guy. It's because they're the number two guy. It's just as simple as that is. Like Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is clearly the better player there. When it comes to this team, Jason Tatum is clearly the better player. And so Jaylen Brown, and obviously we don't have this on record, but what I would imagine happened is he said, I'm going to make a sacrifice and I'm going to realize that, hey, I'm going to give Jaylen Brown the key or Jason Tatum the keys here. But I know I'm going to still get mine, but I'm going to give him the keys. Maybe we can lead to some success. And then guess what happens? They make the finals. And that's not even me dogging on Jaylen Brown because still made the finals. But he was the number two guy. And that's the problem is he literally has proven that he's a number two guy on a finals team.
So, Justin, let me ask you this last question, right? You don't think there's a scenario where Jaylen Brown can leave the Celtics and he ends up in a scenario where he's like a Jalen Brunson, leading a team to the playoffs, having success in that way?
I could see, depending on the team. I definitely could see him being a guy that could be a go-to player. I don't think he's a guy that the offense will run through, which is my biggest problem is if I have a number one guy, I want the offense to run through him consistently. I don't think that can ever be the case with Jaylen Brown. I think a lot of
people thought the same thing when it came to Brunson, to be honest.
But the thing is with Jalen Brunson, we kind of knew that it could run through him. I mean, obviously Luka was the best player on that team.
I don't know about that.
But
there were a lot of people when he signed that contract. There were a lot of people that said
he got overpaid.
There's a difference between being a great player and being a guy that can run an offense, in my opinion. Like
you gotta be a great player for the offense.
I mean, he could run the offense, but like I don't think people thought he could run a team that's like the top 5 seed that gets a second round playoff appearance. I don't think that was on anyone's radar for a full season. You know, like he kind of did it for a few games. When Luka missed those games against Utah, it's like, okay, for a few games in a series, like for sure, especially because he's a free agent, like he's trying to get that bag. But after he got paid, how many times do we see a player get paid and it's like they kind of slow down a bit? Like that's why I thought they were for sure, like for a full season, do basically all that again. But he's the guy. Like that was tough.
Brown can't be a one.
Can't be a one.
Hey, all right, let's move on.
All right, yeah, I'm cool. Moving on. Yeah,
I think. Wait, did you guys give your 3 down there? Gabe and Jelson.
Gabe said Ant.
We've been on this for 40 minutes.
So you have Ant as well, Jelson?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't have him at 1 yet.
You give us your number 2.
All right, we'll start another dialogue, I guess, because
fuck.
My number 2 is Devin Booker. at number 2.
I
bro.
knew it. I fucking knew it.
Bro, what?
Crazy.
Go ahead,
know,
Jelson.
I
I'll
will-
respond.
No, I was just say, I don't think this is as outlandish of a take as saying Jaylen Brown is better than Anthony Edwards. I'm just gonna say that right
Okay, here's the thing. Like, and it should be obvious Donovan Mitchell's my number 1. But the thing is, like, both of these players are on the same tier, no matter how you, like, whichever way you want to frame it, shape it, whatever. They're on the same tier. And I know a lot of you guys are going to say Devin Booker, whatever, because what he just did in the playoffs. I still think, at least off the majority of the last couple years, and especially this past season, this dude dropped a 71 piece, which I know Devin Booker's dropped 70 before, but this dude dropped a 71 piece on a legit team, right? As a legit team with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But on top of that, it's like just his whole regular season was extremely impressive. Who had the Cavs on their radar being like where they finished? Not a lot of people. Now, I was high on him.
I'm not gonna I did.
I was high on him, but okay, so maybe you were too. But not a lot of people were. A lot of people said, yeah, they'll be like 7th or maybe 6th at best. I don't think a lot of people thought they'd be a top 4 seed. And so most of the year, the one thing that people were talking about last year with like Donovan Mitchell is like in the playoffs, which was exaggerated to an extent because a lot of it was the whole team as in entirety, not just him, but they're like Donovan Mitchell doesn't play any defense. So what did he do this year? He came in and he evolved as a defensive player. And even in the playoffs, I know they didn't have quite the best ending, but as a defensive player, he was still doing things the right way. And people might not acknowledge that. Do you know that when he was guarding Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett in the playoffs this year, they shot 9 of 28 from the field? And they shot 1 of 9 from 3. And he guarded them for like 90 minutes. Those are straight up stats from NBA.com. But the point is, like, he is a better defender, in my opinion, than Devin Booker. Now, before you jump the gun, I'm saying he's a better defender than Devin Booker because Devin Booker had his moments too this year. Being in the playoffs, I think he had a game where he had like 4 steals and 4 blocks or something like that, which is crazy. But at least for me, I feel like Donovan Mitchell is a little bit more active on that end. And then also on the offensive end, I think that he's just a more versatile scorer than Devin Booker in terms of getting downhill, shooting from the mid-range and the 3. Devin Booker's mid-range shot is better. I'll give him that. But at least from a 3-point perspective and getting downhill, especially like finishing over the rim and under the rim, both of those collectively, I'm taking Donovan Mitchell. And so I get it. Everyone's going to hold against him like the last 2 playoffs, whatever. The thing is, it's like he's been the number 1 and he's gotten the most attention. He's seen a lot of double teams. He's seen bigger defenders than him a lot of times. Whereas with the Phoenix Suns, especially this year, and Devin Booker played well in the playoffs this year, but he also wasn't quite seeing the same defenders that Kevin Durant was. When Kawhi was healthy, Kawhi was guarding Kevin Durant more than he was Devin Booker. The most frequent matchup in this whole playoffs was Aaron Gordon guarding Devin Booker for 70 shot attempts. The next most shot attempts of any matchup in the whole playoffs for the Suns was 38 by Devin Booker against KCP. So I'm just telling you, like, and especially like the double teams, because Christian Brown felt like the double team bandit in the playoffs, and he was throwing 2 at Kevin Durant. A lot of times Bruce Brown was as well. So especially when we know that Devin Booker has had his failures in elimination games when facing elimination every single time. So I'm just saying they're very close. And me personally, I'm taking Donovan Mitchell just because I feel like on the defensive end, and not just that, I feel like as a leader, I feel like I believe a little bit more in Donovan Mitchell. That's really subjective. And you guys might say, oh, Devin Booker for me. But at least for Donovan Mitchell, how many times do you see him talking in timeouts? How many times do you see him galvanizing the troops? Whereas with Devin Booker, it's more so of a lead by example type of thing. And there's a big reason why I felt like there was a disconnect, this year, especially with the Suns. You know what I mean? Part of that is Monty Williams and DeAndre Ayton. But what I'm saying is Donovan Mitchell, he's a high-level 3-point shooter. He's shown he can show up big time in the playoffs. No one talks about when he basically came back from an injury and swept Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies after down 1-0. No one talks about that. No one talks about having a 40-point triple-double essentially when facing elimination. No one talks about his bubble series anymore because that was years ago and they only want to talk about right now. But given the situation right now, as opposed to playing alongside Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal, which is the other thing I will say, and then I'll let you guys go. I think playing alongside those guys is going to take away some touches from Devin Booker for sure. I know Donovan Mitchell is going to be the number one in Cleveland. So at least from the season perspective, I think Donovan Mitchell is going to have the better stats once again. And now for the playoffs, I mean, yeah, the Suns are the better team, but we also are looking at, like you said, Gabe, Philadelphia, they're going to probably fall. Do we expect Miami to make the finals again? We don't really know. So really it's looking like the Bucks and the Celtics up there. So Cleveland could be that third team. Maybe they get a little lucky with an injury or two. They could find themselves in the conference finals, but I think they should find themselves at least in the second round next year, which if Phoenix plays a team like Denver or a team like the Lakers, that might be their ceiling. So I'm going with Donovan Mitchell above Devin Booker. I've always believed that he's better than Devin Booker. Regular season, he definitely was better than Devin Booker this year and should have been first team All-NBA. And in the playoffs, I think you have to take a little bit of that into account when we're thinking about what Devin Booker had alongside him and how it made those matchups easier to a degree as opposed to what Donovan Mitchell had, because Darius Garland wasn't showing up and neither were the guys that like Evan Mobley. How many times we crucify Evan Mobley or Jared Allen? He said the lights were too bright for him. So I'm going Donovan Mitchell over him.
You have a fine argument. I understand from like certain subjective value sets why you feel the way you feel. And you even admitted that some parts of it was subjective, like the leadership thing. I disagree. Another thing that I disagree with is
can I ask you why you disagree with the leadership thing?
Just because like there's not a lot out of Donovan Mitchell that I see like pure like leader, like the team is built around him, through him. Like, yes, he was probably the best player on Utah, but like that team was built around Rudy. And I feel like that team didn't really have a strong leader, and that's why they fell short in the playoffs. Like,
yeah,
it's
I was saying more so with the.
Hold up, let me.
Okay, go ahead.
Even with Cleveland, I still like, even in a lead by example thing, I think he did pretty solid from the perspective of like they were undermanned and he really stepped up big in a lot of those games. Like I think the 70 happened while Darius Garland was out. But I think I've just seen a little bit more from Devin Booker of he's been the guy in terms of leading Phoenix for several years. Like literally for like 6 years now, he's been their franchise piece. He's been the guy. He was the best player in that finals run. He just – the things I've seen him do, and I still think even the fact he was such a leader that the team got Kevin Durant, and I still think that Devin Booker was the leader of that team. And Kevin Durant has always been a little bit more passive of a personality, but to be on a team with a player that good and to really cement yourself as, yeah, I'm the alpha dog on this team, that's impressive to me. And then my more objective reasons why I take Devin Booker over him is – I also think that I like the versatility of Devin Booker as a scorer a bit more. While in the regular season, the shooting number, like his 3-point shooting numbers were a bit lower. I think overall the shooting gap like isn't that big, especially when you balance out what their playoff 3-point numbers have been the past couple of years. And then I like Devin Booker's mid-range game in his bag a little bit more. And then as far as attacking the rim, Donovan Mitchell's had a history of being a bit inefficient at the rim. I feel like Devin Booker just does that a bit better, even if he's a bit less athletic. If you want a big explosive finish, you're going to go with Donovan Mitchell. But I think consistently finishing at the rim, I'd more so go Booker. And then the other thing is really just going to be the playoff performances the last couple of years and why I struggle to put Mitchell over him. Because in two separate situations the past 2 years, I've seen Donovan Mitchell massively underperform. First in the last series in Utah against Dallas, going down to Jalen Brunson, and then just kind of going out sad like that. Like that was really bad, and he did not perform well in that series at all. And then he came to Cleveland, whole new situation. And yes, a lot of them underperformed in that series, but he was also a key underperformer. Even if you say like, because the other guys who underperformed, like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, I'm not expecting that much out of them on the offensive end anyways. I'm expecting more on defense, and they let me down there because they got bullied on defense. They got bullied on the boards. The things that they should be good at, they didn't do. But as far as the offensive end, Donovan Mitchell was more of that go-to guy. So the only other guy that I can really attribute that being fucked up to is going to be Darius Garland. And so you can use that argument if you like, but Devin Booker's, like, his letdowns is like 2 games. And yes, those are elimination games, but it's like 2 games. But overall, in the consistency of his ability in the past couple playoff series, it's like, look at 3-point shooting numbers. Donovan Mitchell's been literally shooting like on high volume, mid-20s the past 2 seasons in the playoffs, whereas Devin Booker is in the high 40s. Like, it's very significant difference in playoff 3-point shooting the last couple of years, especially this last year. Devin Booker, while once again the last game wasn't great, the depth was terrible. The spacing wasn't really great because the depth was terrible. Like, half the guys on the court really weren't doing shit. And he still almost shot 60, 50, 90. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy efficiency in a playoff run. And it's not like it was like 4 or 5 games and they went out. He was that good. And even the year prior, he didn't have the same raw scoring numbers, only averaged 23. But that efficiency was still way higher than what Donovan Mitchell's been doing the past 2 years in the postseason. And so while it comes, Donovan Mitchell, he carried a heavy load in the regular season, and he had some crazy scoring. But for me, I damn near had Devin Booker as the MVP of the league before he got hurt, because I felt like he was doing such a backpack carry job on carrying that Suns team, because I wasn't sold on what Chris Paul was doing last season. I damn sure wasn't sold on what Ayton was doing last season, and the depth was already questionable. So it was like, dude, Devin Booker is like carrying these dudes right now while putting up great statistical performances with good efficiency. And then he went out. They looked really bad. They traded for KD, and he was still able to come back and play really well. But he missed enough time. The Suns fell in the standings a little bit because of it, and he didn't really finish that MVP caliber season. But I do think he was that level of player, and he finished the season as that level of player. And I don't know if Donovan Mitchell is all the way up there yet.
Well, the 2 things I want to say real quick, and then I'll let Jelson go. The first thing you brought up, or one of the things you brought up, not the first thing, but like talking about like finishing around the rim, like at least they're finishing over the last 2 years, really last year and the last 2 years. If you look at both of them, they're shooting 58.5%, both of them, and they're both shooting 60% from that range. And they're also taking about the same amount of shots. Actually, Donovan Mitchell is taking about roughly 1 more shot per game. But my point is, like, to say that at least from an efficiency standpoint and getting to the basket, I don't know so much about that. I just feel like there's more openings when it's like getting above the rim. And the other thing I was saying, like with the leadership thing, and that's why I asked you about it, is because like, sure, Devin Booker might lead by example. And like, I don't know if you were thinking because like he's like the face of the team. So it's like, yeah, he looks like the leader for sure. But it's like, you could say the same thing where it's like, oh, when LeBron joined Miami, it's like Dwayne Wade was the leader because he was the guy there. You know what I mean? Or when KD joined the Warriors, it's like Steph Curry was like the primary guy there, even though Draymond Green was the vocal leader. I feel like from a vocal leader perspective, like I'm always seeing Donovan Mitchell talk to his teammates. I don't know if you guys remember when like Bogdanovich and Royce O'Neal got into it last year and Donovan Mitchell had to break that up. There were times this year where like, you know, Jared Allen or Evan Mobley, their heads were down and like, because I would watch a lot of their League Pass games and he would be the first guy talking to them, trying to tell them to get stuff done. A lot of the times when you hear players mic'd up, he's the one talking the most, even if he's not mic'd up. So like, I just feel like at least from a leader and like directing players the right way, I feel like he's a fun leader as well because like he's someone who's going to hold you accountable, but it's not like, you were here last stream, Jay, when we talked about like the Kobe Jordan thing. It's like, who would you rather play with? And like both their leadership styles are like intense, and it's like they're gonna hold you accountable, but it's like they'll play 0 games, you know what I mean? And like I don't think he does either, but it's also like a way where it's like it's more of an approachable leadership style. And I just don't know if I've seen that really from Devin Booker, at least like from a talking like one-on-one type of perspective, because otherwise you wouldn't see like, you know, this thing with like the whole DeAndre Ayton thing and like Monty Williams over the last couple of years probably would have been resolved by now, but it felt like it never was fixed. And because it felt like it was never fixed, I feel like that goes in the leader. And if the leader is Devin Booker, then I don't know why he doesn't get, like, he gets exempt from that, you know?
I mean, something that involves a coach, though. I feel like that's kind of a but. Like if it's a
It does,
between
but I'm
players,
saying
it's one
like
thing.
it
And I
still like falls
also
on him too.
this is so intangible. Like even if Donovan Mitchell was a better leader, like I don't really care that much if that made like in
I'm
terms of
just saying like
in
in that
terms of who's
argument
a
like
better player. Like my
I
biggest
mean everything
argument
else
is
you
definitely
said
going
I
to be
respect. I don't agree, but I respect. I'm just saying like from the
that's what I'm
leadership
saying. Is
thing
like
like that's why I feel like he just has shown me more. You know what I
Hey,
mean?
Garrett.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Donovan Mitchell, but the funny thing is you have Donovan Mitchell number 1. I almost had Donovan Mitchell at number 3.
That's because you love Ant, bro.
I do
Stop.
love Ant, but all the
that was a
You're
intangible.
buy.
not. You can't.
Honestly,
I am
But let me
familiar with your game,
I
bro.
was
wait, hold on.
actually expecting.
Let me explain
I
why.
was too.
Like
I'm not gonna lie.
obviously
Go
there's a
ahead.
bias that wants to put Ant at number 2, but also the thing is a lot of the intangibles and the things that you gave credit to Donovan Mitchell for or Devin Booker for could be given even more so to Anthony Edwards. The leadership qualities, the fact that he's taking the double, triple teams at times, getting the best defenders against him. And I mean, Anthony Edwards has performed better in the playoffs than Donovan Mitchell has. He's a better defender than Donovan Mitchell is. And
This year, I mean,
yes,
I've seen Donovan Mitchell have
but
way better playoff performances.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't care because we're talking about this year.
I'm just saying, and in the leadership thing, I still disagree. Ant probably I'll give you Ant over Booker in that respect, but compared to Donovan Mitchell, I would say no.
I'm not gonna lie to you. There's no way. I think Anthony Edwards is one of the best leaders in the league, and wait, completely off topic. I wanted to bring this up because this right here is some Knicks level propaganda right here.
What?
I'm a Raptors fan, and that's some bullshit.
He really wanted to go to the Raptors.
And
if it's a bit, I respect the bit. I do respect the bit if it's a bit, but if that's legitimate, this is prime. This is why, bro. If you go check out 3 Point Weekly, bro, Raptors fans hate me and Devin because we don't let them be delusional.
but this is
We're
no
both
hate,
Raptors
though.
fans, and we don't let them be delusional.
This is no hate when we're talking about Devin Booker, though, but like, especially that when it's like, oh, he didn't want to go there or something like that. And I just can't stop like wrapping my head around like the fact that Devin Booker is the leader of the Suns. And it's like, yeah, I know the elimination games. Yeah, it's only like 2 or 3 games. Granted, it's the most important games, but it's like, why is it that every single time they fold so easily? And if he's the leader, you know, I feel like he should be held responsible, the most responsible.
You can't talk about folding easily when the argument is versus Donovan Mitchell. That team folded that team folded bad against New York. And the year before, and the other team folded bad against Dallas too.
But what expectations did they have?
The Jazz
compared to Phoenix,
dude. The
I'm talking about a team with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker was expected to by a lot to win the championship.
No,
what did you say, Gabe? You said Suns in 4.
That was my.
You said Suns in 4.
But the common consensus regarding teams that trade for a superstar level player at the trade deadline is that they never get it done year one. Was that my take?
But he also though doesn't play up to par in those games. Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell may have lost. He may have lost, but he plays up to par all those games.
No, he didn't.
Hey, I want to
in the elimination game. You're talking about the elimination game, what, last year against Dallas? He played a lot better than Devin Booker did this year.
Why are you going into specifically the elimination game when there's literally
those are the most important games? I'm not saying that's all that matters, but they matter.
Why are you even facing elimination? What if Donovan Mitchell was just better for the rest?
Why are the Suns facing elimination? Because they got down 3-2 to the Nuggets.
Hey, they both
and then they let the Mavericks come back.
Lost. Guess what? Okay. The fact
that's
is,
what I'm saying. It's so comparable.
They both fucking lost, and Devin Booker played better for the whole series
because he wasn't getting Aaron Gordon on defense, and the double teams of Christian Brown and Bruce Brown. He wasn't.
You know, what I will
the
say
stats don't lie. If someone's getting guarded, he got guarded on 70 shots. He got guarded for 125 minutes in that series, and there was not another matchup anywhere close to that. The next most was 38. By KCP guarding Devin Booker. That's the most common matchup in the entire series. And how many times do you see a double team?
Hey, that's why the thing is...
It's Kevin Durant's fault because he's better than Devin Booker, yeah.
Okay, the thing is the reason
I mean,
hey, the reason I said that Anthony Edwards, in my opinion, had something over Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker is the fact that, specifically Donovan Mitchell,
Because you're
is the
biased, Jelson.
no is because of the fact that he was facing those same double and triple teams and played better than Donovan Mitchell. But I have Donovan Mitchell over Anthony Edwards because of the fact that personally, regular season obviously matters, and Donovan Mitchell was by far the better regular season player. And we've seen that he, at this current moment, is a better offensive player than what Anthony Edwards is. And I know that Donovan Mitchell's peak is better than what Anthony Edwards' current peak is. Maybe not next year, but this year, the peak is Donovan Mitchell has him beat. And Devin Booker obviously
can I
has
also
him
bring
beat.
up just something else? Is that I feel like with the Timberwolves compared to the Cavs, take Anthony Edwards and take Donovan Mitchell out of the picture. I'm looking at the Timberwolves offense. You could run that Conley and Gobert pick and roll. You know what I mean? That was run to perfection with the Jazz. That's why they were a big reason why they were the 1 seed the year they were with Donovan Mitchell. And then also like with Karl Anthony Towns, I mean, you would probably say yourself the best 3-point shooting big of all time. So it's like there's way more scoring options on that team than the Cavs, who have no small forward. Now, Darius Garland's expected to do that, but he didn't really show up either. And as for Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, I mean, I got a guy to my right here that says Evan Mobley has no bag, and the other guy said the lights are too bright for him. So, like, compared to that on the offensive end, it's like I'm more willing to be like, you know what? Yeah, I'll throw way more double teams at Donovan Mitchell because he did see a lot of double teams too, and he saw a lot of Josh Hart action. He saw a lot of bigger guard action on him. That I'm just saying, like, it's kind of like it's a little bit unfair. I get where you're coming from though, but I'm saying it's a little bit unfair to like compare the same matchup right there.
No,
See,
and the
so
thing
let
is-
me let me throw my 2 cents in so we could get move on from this top 10 list. My number 2 is indeed Donovan Mitchell. I do agree though, Garrett. They both are on the same tier, both phenomenal players. I'm not going to stay on this topic for too long because you guys done broke it down for me. But I do want to give Donovan Mitchell his credit when it comes to leadership qualities. There were times where when he couldn't get it off against the Knicks, where he couldn't make any type of shot, he went to the huddle like, "Yo, Darius Garland, I need you to take over." And Darius Garland went ahead and took over in the second half of a lot of games. I will give him that leadership quality. I don't think Devin Booker has reached that level yet, level of maturity or whatever you may call it. He may be a leader by example. But why I got Devin Booker as my number 1 is because I know you guys said right now, but me personally, I like to look at the whole resume. He went to the finals. He absolutely was giving the Clippers buckets. I think he's a far better defender than Donovan Mitchell. I know you said Donovan Mitchell is a good defender, but he has Jared Allen and Evan Mobley back there to clean up any of his messes. I know you said Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett shot 9 and 28, whatever it is. They were gonna shoot that percentage regardless if they were a guard or not. Let's be honest. I don't know about Jalen Brunson, but definitely
9 of 28.
Yeah,
9 of 28.
RJ Barrett, come on.
He probably would shoot them.
I mean, Jalen Brunson shot. I think he was like 5 of 16, and he guarded him more.
But
He was going to shoot that no matter what.
I do think. I mean, yeah. Towards the end of the series, shit got physical, and Jalen Brunson he wasn't 100%. But I do think Devin Booker is the better player. Me personally, he is the better defender. Like I said, he stepped up clearly defensively in that Clippers series. I mean, and he was just playing out, giving the Denver Nuggets the eventual champion straight buckets on some incredible efficiency. 50% from 3. God damn. I mean, I gotta
disagree
go with him,
though. I just disagree because I feel like at least throughout the course of the season, Donovan Mitchell, because I've seen a lot of games, trust me, like, and shout out Suns Geek. He's not here, but like I watched a lot of Suns games because I would go on his stream and we talk and all that stuff. But I also watched a lot of Cavs games because it's like, you know, it's a new player on a new superstar or on a team like this. I want to see how this plays out. And from me watching it throughout the regular season, Donovan Mitchell was a better defender. And as well in the playoffs, he was still defending at a high level. The offense was not cooking, I'll tell you that much. They also didn't have quite the offensive surrounding options there that Devin Booker had. So I'm just saying, like, defensively, it's hard to say, like, he's by far the better defender. He's taller, and in today's age, that helps, I guess. But
I don't think that's I don't think he's much taller by much. But wait, can I
He's
just
like
say that?
4 inches taller. He's like
I
6'5",
don't know
and
what
Mitchell's
Suns
6'1".
team that we were watching where like Devin Booker has these gazillion more options than Donovan Mitchell, bro.
Can I just say that
Kevin
Devin
Durant
Booker was dealing with?
Kevin Durant running the 4 compared to Evan Mobley.
First of all, he was playing like an MVP before Kevin Durant even got there. Kevin Durant was only there for half the fucking
He was
season.
hardly playing. That's
Yeah,
why
he
he
was
wasn't an
hard-
All-Star this year.
Bro, he missed some games, but he didn't miss the whole fucking season before Kevin Durant got there.
But he was missing a great chunk of games.
He
Now, I'll
missed
give
a
you
lot
his
of games.
absence. His absence was
There
a big
was
reason
enough
they were
of it.
down
There
there
was
so
enough
long.
of it, bro. There was enough of a sample size. He played very well this season before.
Well, then why ain't he
Being
getting any
consistent.
recognition for it then? Like if
He
you,
got some
I mean,
recognition.
you see this, right? But nobody was saying this then. You know what I mean?
Because people are casuals.
All right, let's move on to our number
Suns
one.
were
Let's
45
close out
games by
this.
the end of it.
Let's close out this.
And when
list
Kevin
out,
Durant,
fellas.
hey, remind me, how many games did they lose in the regular season then when Kevin Durant got there?
0.
Thank you.
All right, number 1. Who's next?
I mean,
Bro,
I
we've
feel like we
already
already
talked
kind of
about
argued it.
it.
I feel
No,
like we should
just
move
say
on.
it to
Donovan Mitchell's number 1.
D-Book.
All right, bet. Nice. All right, we're going to speed through this last segment because we did take mad long on that top 10 list, but that's a good thing. All right, so our next segment is going to be one has to go. I'm going to give you guys either 4 players or 4 coaches, and you're going to pick which one has to go and give a little reason why. First one, we got Jamal Murray, Ja Morant, De'Aaron Fox, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I'm basing it off right now. I will say Ja Morant because he's going to miss some time at the start of the year. But if I'm basing it off like he's playing, then
Yeah,
I would have to say you said Jamal Murray, Ja Morant,
De'Aaron
Shai,
Fox
and who else?
Shai.
And De'Aaron Fox. I'm gonna have to say Jamal Murray, and it's tough because I thought Jamal Murray played well in the playoffs, but like I just don't see him good on it.
It's Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
It's not tough, bro.
It's
You gave me 3 number 1s and a number 2.
Jamal,
Exactly what I
the Jamal
think.
hate is crazy, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
I say
It's
Ja.
not hate.
like
He's
Jamal.
just not on that level.
I say Ja has to go
Absolutely.
because he is less versatile than everybody else on the list, and the fact is that he's missing games, and
For that, I will say Ja too, but yeah.
so I mean, there's just a couple of things there where you could say like the I don't know. You could say that the Ja thing is the one option and Jamal was the 2 or whatever. But I just think Ja is the less versatile player because the fact is, number one, I don't 100% buy in the fact that Ja is going to stay healthy in the future because the fact that whenever anyone is in the paint, he decides to turn into a frog and try to jump over them. That is something. And also the fact is that his three-point shot, albeit has seemed to get a little bit more consistent, is still not good by any means. And the fact is his defense is still below what I would like it to be. And Jamal Murray has shown to be a more versatile offensive player and is shown to be a similar level defender. So, I mean, it's really to each their own. And then you kind of add the fact of him missing 25 games, and then I kind of have to throw Ja in the fire.
You know what? I'm gonna change my pick. I'm gonna actually go with Ja, and for a bigger reason than just missing the games. Like I don't know, like the versatility aspect. I'm thinking about it in the durability. I'm like, yeah. I mean, Jamal got hurt, but it's like that was kind of a fluke, you know.
Yeah,
I like that. I got a hot take. I did say in that series against the Lakers that if Ja Morant stood out, did not come back, and Tyus Jones started, they might have pulled that series out. I like Jaren Jackson Jr. as the number 1 option. But our next 4 we got is our MVP version. We got 2016 Steph Curry. This is not MVP version. LeBron is the only one. 2018 LeBron. 2021 Giannis and 2023 Jokic.
give me Bron.
Wait, the one we're getting rid of.
Yeah, we're
It's
getting
the one
rid
we're
of
getting
one.
rid of. Well, I can tell you what, I'm not getting rid of a dude that led their team to a championship, such as Jokic and Giannis.
Jokic, Giannis.
2018 LeBron is nice, and 2016 Curry is probably the best version of him, but he's still like kind of playing like his, prime. Gabe, what do you
tough.
think? You're the Curry guy here.
That's the greatest offensive season we've ever seen. He led that team
Yeah.
to literally 73 wins. And yes, they lost the finals, but that's with the context of he got hurt in the middle of the playoffs. And so
Yeah.
I don't think when you say just as a player, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at how good was the player. And Steph Curry had literally like the best offensive season I've ever seen. I think if I'm going to get rid of one player, I'm probably getting rid of Giannis because he's the most limited. Because I think all of these guys, when this happened, were comfortably the best player in the league at that time. So you could be like, Giannis was the best player in the league. But just in terms of pure dominance, like Giannis was dominant, but I don't think his game was as complete as some of the other guys.
Hey,
You know,
that finals, bro.
I'm a cut LeBron.
I'm gonna cut
Because
Jokic.
I'm cutting 2018 LeBron, and part of it is because like I already said, it's like if you're leading your team to a championship, first of all, cutting Jokic is crazy. Because I feel like at least what I saw out of Jokic this year, there's no way I'm cutting him. And especially like Giannis on the defensive end too, and what he can contribute that maybe 2016 Curry was not. I'll give Curry that he's improved as a defender for sure. In 2016, I don't think he was even the defender he is now. But the other thing is too, with LeBron in 2018, he would have bursts where he would play on the defensive end, and he would also have lapses. Let's also take into account who they played in the playoffs. And I'm just like, there was nothing really that moved me by the teams and the players that LeBron played in 2018 that I was like, wow, like Curry came back down 3-1 to the Oklahoma City Thunder led by KD and Russ.
That
Or, wow,
Pacers team
Giannis,
was that Victor Oladipo led Pacers
come
team.
on, stop.
Vicious.
Wait.
Victor
I have a question.
Oladipo, where's he?
Nah, all right, come on. Back then, don't
Jay-
do that, Gary. Come on.
Jay,
Exactly.
Jay,
That's a bad faith argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jay, are we talking Jokic from this season or
2023 Jokic, bro.
okay? So he wasn't the MVP that year.
But he should have
He
been.
could have been, yeah.
He should have been. He
The-
should have been.
The thing is the fact is in these seasons, I feel like Jokic during the regular season had real competition and was not 100% for part of the season the best player in the NBA. I feel like Joel Embiid had it for a little bit where it was like partially an argument, and then it was kind of okay. Jokic is really taking over now. I think I understand LeBron didn't win MVP, but like I feel like a couple of years there with the Cavs, he was just like one of those guys where it's like he's still the best player in the NBA, and then where it's like he was consistent, like LeBron was the best player in the NBA, and
Just to
then
add to that real quick, I just feel like in terms of vibes, like 2018 for the Cavs as a whole was not a great vibe season, especially because how the first half played out. They traded basically everyone, got George Hill, Larry Nance, and those dudes. And it's like, it just felt something was off the whole year. And so for that, like, especially with like LeBron at the helm of it, it's like,
I mean, that
I don't
adds
know
to
how I
LeBron's
feel.
year, to be honest.
but
what'd you say?
I mean, I
what'd
feel
you
like
say?
that adds to LeBron's year, to be honest. The vibe's off. He's still leading the team to the finals.
I don't
it was
know
a
because
very-
it
was very
ended so
impressive.
it's ended really disappointingly, and I still like, and I've don't know if I've ever said this on here, but like I still can't get over how like the 2018 finals went. That game 4 is the worst game I've ever watched in NBA history, and I'll stand on that. Game 4 of the 2018 finals is the worst game I've ever watched in NBA history.
The Cavs really rolled over.
But-
Like game 1 is like literally like a modern classic basketball game to go watch, but like the rest of the series, they
Was
they
ass. Yeah.
They rolled over.
Other than like the KD shot in game 3 again or whatever.
and
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. 2018 LeBron's the best player to ever touch a basketball. So Garrett, you're wild.
I'm not gonna lie,
That's cap.
I kind of
That's not even the best. That's not even the best version of LeBron. 2013.
Yes, it
Exactly.
is. 100.
No, I
No,
think-
yes,
I
it is.
think it's
100.
the best.
percent it is.
2013 LeBron is better,
It's
and
the
Michael
best version of
Jordan
LeBron for
is
sure.
better.
2018
Michael
LeBron
Jordan is
clear.
better.
And I'm not gonna sit here and argue that he's the best version of any player to ever touch basketball. I'm not gonna go that far.
What did Santos say earlier? I was recently asked, who's the true GOAT, MJ or King James? I said, without hesitation, MJ. Without hesitation. Carry on.
Okay.
Whatever.
The point is I'm not gonna go as far to say that like 2018 LeBron was the best player to ever touch basketball, but I would say that it's probably the best version of LeBron because the argument is the MJ versus LeBron. That's all the
sure
argument.
is.
Yeah.
But
They have to-
I think that the 2018 version of LeBron was the best version of LeBron. And it's obviously an argument, but that's my personal opinion. And he was the best player in the league that year. Led that team to the finals, and that team was straight up trash. And
I mean,
the
all these
thing
guys were the best player in the league at that
no,
point. I
the
mean, you
point,
could
the
argue
point is that there
2015
was
Curry,
never.
but that wasn't probably until like the finals that was brought about. Throughout the regular season, when he was doing what he was doing, like there were people that were really like, Curry might be the best player in the world. You know?
No, oh God, no, I was one of those people. I was one of those people.
2013 LeBron was literally the best defensive player in the NBA while being fucking LeBron James on offense.
Nah, in terms of dominance, in terms
2018, he was walking
dominance.
back on defense. He couldn't get back to guard Bojan Bogdanovic.
In terms of dominance, LeBron was dominating everyone on both ends of the court every night.
Okay, this isn't an argument of 2013 versus 2018 LeBron. This is an argument of who are we taking out, and I said Jokic.
I said LeBron.
Who you got, Gabe?
Giannis.
All right, so our next one is.
Wait, who are you taking out? Who are you taking out, Jay?
No, I'm not participating.
Jay, come on, you gotta in this one at least.
I'm gonna have to go Giannis. I ain't gonna lie.
That's crazy.
This is the defensive player of the year version: 2015 Kawhi, 2017 Draymond, 2020 Giannis, and 2008 KG.
Wait.
I'm definitely not cutting 2008 KG. I'm not cutting him.
I'm 100% cutting Draymond.
Why? Yeah, I was gonna say, why is Draymond on this list? Like, what was the original?
Defensive player of the year.
I think Draymond is my answer too. I think Giannis is a close second, but like, it's definitely not Kawhi and it's not KG. But like, when Draymond won Defensive Player of the Year, I'd argue that wasn't even like his best defensive year. You know what I mean? Like, so, I mean, like Giannis, you could say that as well. And like, granted, like he did beat out guys like, you know, AD and stuff, had a solid defensive year. So like, it was tough and it was warranted, I think, still. So I'll go Draymond.
Draymond,
because that's his Draymond. Yeah, Draymond. I was gonna put Rudy Gobert on this list, but that would have been too easy. Next one we got is coach version. We got Greg Popovich, Eric Spoelstra, Steve Kerr, and Phil Jackson.
Steve Kerr.
Cutting Steve Kerr.
Steve Kerr, dude. Fraud.
Steve Kerr overrated?
Steve Kerr is a fraud. Oh
Let's
my
go.
God.
Compared to Mount Rushmore over here, yeah.
I like this. Gabe, who you got?
Bro, the answer is clear.
Bro.
The fraud. You have to cut the fraud.
Listen, Jay, every time I see you active on Twitter, it's always Steve Kerr slander, bro. This is like a real fucking hate campaign. The answer is Steve Kerr. This is bait. This is bait because you are spreading Steve Kerr hate wherever you fucking can.
I love it, Jay. Thank you, Jay.
Yo, Gabe, who you picking, bro?
Yeah,
I told you, I'm picking Steve Kerr, but
okay. I had to make sure.
I love the campaign. I'm on your hate campaign, Jay.
I had to make that clear. I ain't gonna lie, fellas. This was a W stream. I had a lot of fun with you guys. And hey, how about we close this out, man? I appreciate everybody in the chat for tuning in. If you guys are still here, make sure you leave a like, subscribe. If you're at the end of the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Even comment down below your thoughts on this entire video, this entire segment. We will be back on Saturday this weekend. And hey, I'll see y'all this weekend, man.
Peace.
You'll get in stream.